You're a pro at running your life, at committing to your workout, at showing up every day. At Bombas, we're pros too. Pros at making socks. Our sport assortment has specialized socks for whatever sport you're committed to. Running, hiking, golf, Pilates, and so much more. Made with sweat-wicking yarns, blister-fighting details, and targeted arch support. Bombas Sport is pro-level socks from the pros of socks. For another pro, you. Go to bombas.com/audio and use code audio for 20% off your first purchase. That's bombas.com and use code audio.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hey guys, this is Matt Seidel, and you're listening to Keepin' It Strong Style.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the Ace of Podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll preview the New Beginning USA, review the first few nights of Fantastica Mania, and cover all its news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Please support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network and Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the network's podcasts and newsletter over at socialsuplex.com. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. And we are streaming live right now on patreon.com/KI Strong Style. If you want to watch our show live or listen without ads, sign up at patreon.com/KI Strong Style. Young boy, how you doing, man?
I am doing so well. I actually just woke up from a little nap. Long day at work and getting prepped for the show. Had to catch up on some Z's, but hopefully the old cobwebs have been wiped away. I'm feeling a little lively here, but I'm glad to be back on the show. Thank you for holding things down unexpectedly last week. I listened to the show. And the audio was great.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Saw a lot of love. Why are you laughing?
Just thinking of the meme you made.
Well, I didn't get there yet, but I noticed you didn't like the meme. You didn't heart the meme. You didn't put a cry emoji with the laughing cry emoji underneath it. So I feel like you might have felt some kind of way about it, but. This is what I noticed, everybody, okay, that are listening. Some of you might be familiar, but Jeremy does audio last week, unexpectedly solo. Real good. Fantastic job, like he always does. And then I jump into the Discord and I'm like, all right, great. And then I'm like, great job, Jeremy. Great audio. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like one after another, after another, after another. And
another one.
Yeah, another one. And another one. And I was like, it's deserved. For sure, but granted, I've done some solo episodes recently within the past calendar year. I didn't get any love like this. Nobody was reaching out to me, telling me, "Oh, young boy, great insight." So I think this tells me where I stand in the hierarchy of this show.
Well, Josh, you're gonna have carte blanche here in the next couple weeks. So, parental leave is coming up for me. So my wife has a C-section scheduled from a week from today. So my son will be born by this time tomorrow, next week. So I will be taking a couple weeks off from the show. Chris Samsa will be jumping in next week for a New Japan Cup preview, and we've had a couple other people kind of throw their name in the hat to be potential guest hosts, or maybe Josh will just do a bunch of solo audio so y'all can, give him his flowers. But it will be Young Boy Productions for next couple of weeks of March while I'm out getting used to having a baby in the house.
Well, we might need to do a quick refresher on some of the technology side of things. It's been a little while since the last time you were out, on a lavish vacation, and now you're taking another one. So, but
I don't know if it's a vacation.
This is a lavish vacation for you, bro. In fact, the fact that you're even taking time off for this is a little bewildering to me. I'm not sure there's a baby. Okay. How does that change things? You're recording, you just hold them. They're not going to be talking. They don't have anything to contribute to the show just yet. Fine. But no, that's very, very exciting. You guys are going to have your hands full. What can, other than hold down the fort here, what do you guys need from me? Do you need me to make a roast? What am I going to need to provide for you guys to, fulfill the childbirth experience for y'all? Should I bring cigars to the, that's a thing, right? I've seen that movies, people bring cigars to the fucking waiting room, Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to ask for anything, but I mean, people are, planning to bring meals and stuff over. Grandma's going to be cooking some stuff for me to put in the freezer.
I'm going to send Popeyes.
Hey, that would be incredible. My wife already has a list of stuff she wants to get because she's had gestational diabetes last couple months here. So she's really had to monitor intake of what she can eat. And so there's been a lot of stuff that she just couldn't have to make sure the sugar levels stay right for the baby and the baby's not, gaining too much weight. And so she's already planning, we're going to have this, we're going to have this, going to have this. So, I mean, if a box of Popeyes showed up at the door, I don't think she would complain about that.
Yo, that's funny. Well, here's the thing, Jeremy, and we didn't discuss this, but this is going to be your last show. Okay. Because this is a young man's game. I know
aren't you older than me?
I was born before you, but I'm younger than you. Okay. Especially now you're having a kid.
That ages me 10 years.
Bro, you're washed, dude. I don't know how you're going to continue to do this show. Your insights, when people get old and they just get terrible at judging wrestling, that's you, bro. This is it.
I'm gonna come back and be like, you know what? Evil wasn't so bad after all.
Oh man, I just I know that you didn't expect this. We really appreciate your contributions to the show over the years. You'll never be forgotten, but you'll always be in our hearts. But we are going to replace you, unfortunately. So
black and white KISS logo going out tomorrow.
Speaking of people getting fired on the air, remember that time that Rance got fired by Jordan?
Oh man, damn! I'll be the second black man fired on the air on this network.
Wait, that wasn't on our network.
Oh, sorry, that was on his other show he was doing. Yeah,
was that on Chair Shot?
Yeah, I think that was on Chair Shot. Yeah.
Oh man, that's one of the most legendary things that ever happened.
Oh man, we need to find that, pull that up again. That's some quality audio right there.
Oh man, maybe we're coming up on FOH 10. Maybe we can work that into the gimmick somehow. Just a live reaction review.
Oh
man. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about here. I'm very excited, Fantastica Mania. Dun, 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 dun. And you know what's funny, Jeremy, is I'm seeing the reactions and I'm seeing how the general public is perceiving Fantastica Mania, and they're not super high in it, but I don't know, man. I love this shit. So,
bro, that Saturday main event will get that was lit. I don't know what everybody else is watching, but yeah,
the Saturday main event was really, really fantastic. But even just I don't know, even the little Okamura tags. I like this shit. I don't care. It's like pizza,
Yeah. Before we get to that and before we get to New Beginning USA, is there anything you need to get off your chest about New Beginning in Osaka since you weren't here last week?
No, I thought you did a really fantastic job summarizing everything. There's not much more that that's the funny thing with us. You know how they say, like, when you're married to somebody for a long time, you start looking like them and taking on each other's characteristics and personality. Like, we've been doing this show for so many years. It's very rare that we have wildly differing opinions and takes on things. So it's like, I don't know. I felt like you said it all for me. Me just being here would have just made the show an extra hour longer than the 2-hour show that you did, with me just saying the same points as you. Maybe, some people are listening, like, yeah, that's true. Like, maybe we just do need to do, Jeremy solo audio from now on.
No.
But the only thing that I will say, just in a broad scopes, is like, I've seen a lot of people that are like, really good show, really enjoyed it, especially when it first occurred. I didn't think it was by any means a bad show, but considering the momentum that was carried from January into February, I felt a lot of the really great build to New Beginning was just not paid off as well as it possibly could have been. If in fact Finley is for sure on his way out, as well as Hiromu and whoever else, I don't know that I love the way they left, because I feel like, and then potentially if Gabe's leaving too, it just seems like he might be. Who knows what's going on there? I don't feel like they're getting the most out of their potential exoduses. I understand that it's happening right in the midst of storylines that they're kind of just having to like wrap up. But I almost feel like maybe they should have just pivoted and done something that was a little more, I don't know, like impactful or meaningful, but who knows? And then the last thing I'll say is the tag main event gives you a lot of hope for or semi-main event gives you a lot of hope for the future, for all of those guys involved. But the main event was not what I hoped it would be. And kind of reiterating what you said, it's not a bad match, but it's not up to the IWGP standard or level. And Jake Lee, ultimately, as good as the build was, it started kind of getting wobbly down the stretch, and then it really fell off the rails during the match. And honestly, I felt like that Tsuji, now he didn't do what we hoped for. He didn't elevate this guy to this higher standard or higher level. That's not what happened. But I do feel like he redirected and got the match back on track and still had a worthwhile, if underwhelming, performance considering the dance partner. This is actually, you know what? There is one thing that I did want to say that I haven't heard anybody else say, and this is just my kind of insight, and I'm glad you gave me this opportunity because I forgot about it. I could be wrong here, but I kind of got the feeling that Jake Lee either led or laid that match out.
Yeah, I saw you mention this in one of our group chats, yeah.
And the reason I say that is because watching a lot of New Japan over the years, I've seen where young guys get an opportunity to run with or to hold the title, and then they still have to acquiesce to the senior, the Kohai, role where the senior that's above them, they still have to respect them. They still have to take their licks. And even if those guys are going to put them over, they still got to like let them shine, lay the match out, and follow their lead. Now, it is a little different with Jake Lee. It's not like he came from this dojo, but he is still the senior to Tsuji. And I just wonder, the reason I say this is like, because do you think that when everything was laid out, do you think that Tsuji said, all right, so when you do the heat segment, here's how long it's going to go, and you're going to do this thing with the glove, and you're going to put it in my mouth, and you're going to be hopping around like you're Pennywise. And do you think that these are things that he said, knowing what's in the arsenal of Jake Lee, that's what his idea of the match was going to be? It just doesn't, that doesn't add up to me. And I remember when both Tanahashi and Nakamura were like the young up and coming aces, and they held the top titles. one of the reasons that they didn't break out and have the type of matches that they ended up having later in the 2010s is because they still had to do what the seniors wanted them to do. And they still had to follow the lead of the third generation dads and all the outsiders that came back and all the MMA guys and everybody. Like, they had to do the matches that those guys wanted, and they weren't really able to dictate the structure, style, or pace. I wonder if that's what happened here, honestly. It felt to me like that's the case.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't think that Tsuji, like you said, really was in for like laying out the match for, you're going to laugh here, you're going to pull the glove out here and do all the comedy spots. I feel like Tsuji probably would have had a different approach. So, Jake Lee is, clearly trying to get this new gimmick over. And so to me, it would make a ton of sense if he's like, I'm laying it out. Here are the key spots. I'm going to try and get the glove over. I'm going to try and get the, laughing no sell thing over. And Tsuji probably just kind of had that to go with it.
And to close all of that out, I don't know if anybody in the world on top of their game could have gotten out of that version of Jake Lee what we hoped that match could have potentially produced. You know what I mean?
Even Kento Miyahara, who is historically, known for elevating Jake Lee, I think even with this silent gesture gimmick, even Miyahara might have been a little bit, shook.
They say funny don't make money, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I just cannot imagine you go into this top line main event status position and then start pivoting into a comedy geek. Maybe he knows the writings on the wall and he's like, Yano and Taguchi only got so much more tread left on the tires, and Sonata's gone. I might need to give myself some job security here as opposed to trying to be a top line wrestler. Who knows? But the other thing with all of that, this man Tsuji got himself in some hot water with some of those post match comments.
Yeah.
I thought that was very interesting how how the office and, management and everybody was responding publicly. And I thought that was
especially Goto. I don't know if you saw, like, Goto's been like, he was like responding to
a bootlicker.
Yeah. He was responding to everybody. He was responding to Kadani, and he was still, even days later, like, because there was a whole thing where like Tanahashi went backstage to Tsuji. He's like, let me handle the company. And Tsuji kind of like soft apologized, and like Goto, quote tweets like, maybe we shouldn't be talking about some of the stuff on the air. Like, and Goto's just like going and like pretty much like kind of burying the whole thing and really standing up for the company. It's really weird.
Well, we're not privy to everything that goes on backstage, and it could just be a situation where Young Buck oversteps his boundaries and isn't necessarily playing the game the right way. But it's interesting. We've heard so many stories of turmoil and, issues, just whispers about, issues with creative management, the office, the boys. And you always see some of that stuff start to kind of come through the cracks, especially with Tsuji. So interesting.
All right, well, let's jump to the New Beginning in USA, which is coming up this Friday on pay-per-view.
We're jumping into the preview. We're shying away from the Fantastica Mania review. Wow.
Yeah, let's do all New Beginning, and we'll get to Fantastica Mania here in a second. But let's do New Beginning USA. So this Friday, the Insurance Arena in Trenton, New Jersey. Had a couple questions here we'll talk about before we jump into the card. So first question here from Make Way for Slide. He says, sorry to beat a dead horse. What is going on with the strong titles? Ishii's defending the strong openweight title, but Shuri's defending the IWGP title and not the strong one. Happy to see KLB defend their tag titles, but the strong titles are AWOL. With the change in U.S. branding, you would figure that they would try to integrate the strong titles into their IWGP equivalents. No such luck, it seems.
I don't know, man. They're pretty much right now, as of this isn't some inside scoop, but just, as an observer, they're break glass in case of emergency. Like, they don't really have any prestige or importance or relevance in the day-to-day, landscape of New Japan. But when we run a show abroad, we want to add a little bit of gold on there to make people think it matters. We're going to break some glass and pull that shit out, dust it off, and tell you it means something.
Yeah. And we've talked about it over and over again about like there not needing to be a strong title and strong in general. Like I feel like strong worked really well during the pandemic, helped the US based wrestlers get some work. And the initial run worked out pretty good. You're doing these weekly TVs. There was compelling programs with, Lawler and Rosser, and they were bringing in kind of underrated guys like, Adrian Quest and, they had like ACH in there. They were kind of bringing in some indie stalwarts in there. So it was a fun little program. But then once you kind of get things back rolling to what they were trying to do pre-pandemic, it was hard to draw for those tapings. They weren't always bringing in the top Japanese talent. The production wasn't always top quality. And we saw the need to pivot back to what they were kind of doing before, where it's like, yeah, you do your few big shows in bigger cities. And you kind of, at this point, you don't really need a strong title, strong tag team title, strong women's title when you kind of have, the IWGP equivalents. Like New Japan fans in the West want to see New Japan as pure as you can present it in the US. And so that's not the strong titles.
I just think it's very ironic that the strong titles are the weakest titles in the company.
Yeah.
That shit is soft.
Rambo and Slampig says, based on the apparent change in strategies for shows in the US to now be depicted as part of the main line continuity of New Japan instead of the strong offshoot brand, do you expect to see differences in terms of booking and match or card structure? And do you think this will have a noticeable impact on how the show does financially and is received critically?
I can't say that I agree that is the actual case, that what he stated from the offset, that like this no longer exists in its own bubble and is treated as more of the, the regular kayfabe and streamlined. I don't know that that's the case. There could be some argument to that, but you just go back, look at the last 2 years, right? Mm-hmm. And there are some shows when they're held in front of bigger audiences, namely in Chicago in most cases, and they feature some top line talents, then they are treated with a modicum of more, notoriety, and they're, somewhat worked into the kayfabe and the stories, and they have slight builds and stuff like that. But then there are still things going on those shows that were feeding into the smaller, strong, self-contained shows. And they have flip-flopped on, what the public messaging is. At one point, it was like, this is our strategy. Then it was like, then we're going to go for quality over quantity. And then that never really happened. And honestly, it just kind of seems like this entire US expansion post-COVID has, and I don't want to shit on all of it because they've done a lot of good things for a lot of people. They kept people working, they did good things. So it's not like it's all negatives, but in the past couple of years, it's kind of been superfluous because they've just kind of existed in their own dimension. And right now, this is a show in a bigger building. It has some important title matches, but it's not really being built on the day-to-day Japanese show. It's not being talked about. It's not being promoted very well. And yeah, some of the ramifications of what happens in the show will be felt if there are changes and things like that. But ultimately, in my opinion, this is just a slightly elevated version of a classic strong pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, I do think there are some signs that kind of put things in the right direction. So there is no New Japan Strong branding on this show. They just use a regular, New Japan line mark logo. So I think that's great, kind of transitioning back to that. And, so yeah, some of the matches were built off of angles that happened in Japan. Ricochet, challenging Ishimori, and GOA challenging Knockout Brothers. The Tsuji Andrade thing was kind of built up in Japan. ELP and Takeshita was built up in Japan. So there are some things in here that were built off the tour. But again, there is still a lot of that kind of strong flavor when you see guys like Alec Price and Jordan Oliver on the card. You got Fred Rosser on the card. So there is a little bit of a mix of both. I think they're kind of heading in a better direction, but there is still kind of that signs of some of the old strong stuff that you would see on a card like this.
And I hear what you're saying, Jeremy, but I still kind of have to somewhat disagree. And here's why, because they haven't been using the strong branding for a bit now. And if you recall, like they did a few bigger US shows the past year or so, and some of them were built in the same way where they had, challenges over the monitor and established things like that. This is not new territory for them. They've kind of already been doing this. It's just the number of shows has diminished over the past couple of years, and it's just less prevalent, less regular. I do agree that they set up the Andrade match as being the stakes of the New Beginning show in Osaka. But by and large, I don't think that this is like an inspired booking in the way, like all those guys that came in and challenged like AOP, or not AOP, but
GOA.
Yeah. What are they called?
GOA, the Gates of Agony.
Yeah. The Gates of Agony and Ricochet. Like that was just impromptu. Sort of, it reminds me of like when Matt Riddle was, challenging people over. It's no different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm just not personally that enthused. Honestly, the match that first was announced that got me excited for the show, and I felt like was a sign of positive things, was the first match that they announced, which was Ishii and Oleg Boltin, which I don't believe that's ever happened, or if it has, not on this sort of stage or for a title, where I was like, oh shit, that's a domestic ass match that they're doing in the States. That's really fantastic. And I feel like those are the kinds of things that I want to see out of this. Not like guys from the indies and from the US kind of getting haphazardly integrated just to kind of throw bodies on the card.
Yeah, it would have been nice to maybe have more Japanese talent on the card and more programs that were built up from the New Beginning tour. But overall, I don't think it's a bad card. And again, if certain matches hit the right way, this could end up being a pretty good show.
Oh, I kind of do think it's a bad card. We'll talk about it. We'll go through and hopefully I don't muddy the water for you too much, but like for me, I think this is an American ass show if there ever was one.
All right, well, let's go through it. So the show's going to open up. We got Mr. No Days Off, Fred Rosser, taking on David Finlay. And we had a question from Def Triangle 720. What if Finlay actually stays in NJPW? It doesn't seem like there's a clear winner of either top Western company that's picked him up yet. So there's been a lot of, speculation and quote unquote news stories and rumors on the status of David Finlay. Apparently right now he's kind of keeping his options open. It sounds like WWE made an offer, but it was lower than what he expected. And it sounds like he wants New Japan to match that offer. Doesn't sound like there's a lot of interest from the AEW side, even though there are people speculating that he potentially could end up there because they are, promoting Gabe Kidd and Clark Connors as the dogs on AEW TV, and people are thinking, Finlay could end up joining them as well. So it seems like it's kind of up in the air what's going to happen with Finlay going forward.
Well, Finlay, in my opinion, should definitely not go to AEW. It's just for the same reasons that I said that Jay White shouldn't have gone there in the first place. You know what I mean? But Jay White has more upside from a Western, just like from a what's like the airport test, from like a standard looks and stuff like that. Like there is some more upside there, but I do think I think that Tony, and I know it's easy to go on a New Japan podcast and bash him, but sometimes I do think that Tony is a little bit of a mark. I know that there's always that allegation. The good news is when I call him a mark on my show, I'm not going to get suspended for 2 months. But, I feel like sometimes the way he judges talents and decides how he wants to utilize them, he could be a little bit of a mark. At the same time, I just don't see where David Finlay would fit into the broader landscape. They've got a million guys similar to him that they just barely use. Like, there's just not that much room for him. And I don't see how he would fit into the framework of that company in any sort of meaningful standout way, unless they're just giving him the bag. Like, if he's, that might be a reason to go.
Yeah.
But, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I don't even really see him standing out in WWE either. I think
I do.
They see him as a player coach. I can see him, maybe teaming with his brother there. I don't think I think in NXT, like they would probably use him kind of in the same role they're using like Ethan Page and Ricky Saints. But like when he gets to the main roster, like I don't see them pushing him to like a main event level. I don't feel like he's going to stand out anyway. I think he's a guy. Either way, I think he's going to get kind of lost in the shuffle.
I disagree. I do agree with you in the sense that I don't see him as a main event star in WWE. That's not going to happen. Could he be like a player coach? I guess. I think he's a little too young for that, but he's got enough, experience around the world to where they could utilize him in that way. But I feel like he would get a push in NXT. I feel like he would stand out there. And then I feel like he has enough family pedigree and know-how to carve some level of a niche out for himself in WWE and play the game and find a cozy little spot on the roster. Like, I'm not saying he's gonna be a main eventer, but I think he can fit into what they have in some manner or means, even if it's like a henchman in some group or something like that. You know what I mean?
But does he want that though? Like, if I'm him, I'm looking at the landscape. Like, I get it. Maybe Japan's not the most convenient thing for travel and money, but if you stick in New Japan, like, he's going to get a push main event. He's going to be a main eventer still.
I don't know. Like, they've kind of like showed their cards. They're not planning to put the title on him, and he's not getting any younger. At this point, other than Fergal Devitt, who only didn't get the title because he was only in the role as Bullet Club leader for a singular year. And during that year, he main evented the company up and down the card. And I honestly fully believe had he stuck around, he probably would have got the bookings that AJ Styles got. Mm-hmm. But if David Finlay leaves now, he will go down as like the one quote unquote leader of the Bullet Club who never got the top strap, never was trusted as like the top main event guy and given a run of that matter or of that like stature. So, but people have to do what they got to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's the old adage, sometimes it's time to leave the territory. Mm-hmm. And who knows, going to one of these two companies might not be a lifetime endeavor. It might just be like what we've seen with other guys where he goes away and works there. And then I don't know, maybe he follows the footsteps of the Good Brothers where, they find a way to finesse and get a paycheck from almost every single company on God's green earth and continue to stick with their friends. So I don't really know, but I guess the heart of the real question originally was, what if he doesn't leave? Mm-hmm. And that kind of speaks to what I was saying. It was like, I think that they will use him in a meaningful way in New Japan, but I'm not sold on the idea that they put the title on him unless we're at that stage where there are no other top heels that they are banking on or counting on, but they are starting to already position people in that way. And he was already being positioned as a backup role to Yota Tsuji as it stands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, if he stays, I mean, I think there is a story there, at least with him and Tsuji, and potentially, splitting off of Unbound Company and doing his own thing or joining a different unit. I don't think he can just kind of stick around at Unbound Company. I think something would change there. I think he is better utilized as a heel. I know the Hiromu stuff was fun. And he's kind of leaning a little bit more babyface, but I think, the last couple of years, he's really gotten over as a heel, kind of being that bully bruiser. So, I mean, he would definitely be a top guy. He would get title shots. I don't know if they'd put the title on him. They seem to be really invested in elevating Callum Newman. You got Zach, who's always, around and is going to be a top foreigner there. So yeah, he might have lost his spot to Cal Newman.
With all that being said, I do genuinely think I think Finlay is a fantastic talent, and I'm not saying that in the Nujadeen sort of, how like they like to champion their guys, because sometimes there's a sense of insecurity because of where New Japan is in the pecking order. So we need to try and, push these guys up in stature to be like, no, see, we got guys too. We're okay. Like, but I don't do that. I don't give a fuck. Like, that's not me. I do genuinely believe that Finlay is a fantastic wrestler. Now, I will say, can he have matches of the top caliber as other people when he's in there with the right people? Yes, he absolutely can. Do I think he's a guy that you can consistently count on to do that every night? The way that like an Osprey or like a Omega or like Okada or Tanahashi, like, no, I think he's a notch beneath those guys, but he is significantly by Western fans underrated, especially those who have not like been tuned in for the past years, haven't seen his growth. He's always been a really, really good worker. But he needed to kind of find the character and also find the structure of his matches that worked for him. And like you said, being this bruiser guy, we even seen it, on some of these, you look at like the Tokyo Dome show with like, what's that guy's name? The fuck ice guy.
Oh, Brody King.
Yeah, like Brody King, a person who you think should have just like probably ate him up, and he came off as a believable powerhouse opponent to a guy like that. I think that he has something to offer in the way he works to where I think he can carve a niche out for himself in some of these Western companies. It's just going to be a matter of like seizing the opportunity if it's presented to him and finding a way to get over. And he does his looks, even though he's not a bad looking guy, he's definitely not like an Adonis. So that stuff is kind of, going to always play against him, especially in a cosmetic business, the way Western fans perceive and the way the bookers perceive. But I think the family connection in WWE is sort of the one thing where it's like he's multi-generational. His dad is Fit Finlay, but yada, yada, yada. So I think that's always going to be in play there.
Yeah. And I think that Finlay, I think you said he's super underrated. And, Meltzer was talking about him on Observer Radio a couple weeks ago and kind of talking about, he's watching the Finlay Newman match and he's like, if you like slow down and look at some of the things that Finlay does, like he's just so crisp, so technically sound. Like his transitions into things and the way he sets matches up are so smart. And yeah, I think he has improved a lot. And the elevation from, the Finjuice guy to, leader of the War Dogs, I think was well deserved. And he did a great job in that role. So yeah, hopefully he ends up in a spot where he can, utilize his skills.
You know how people talk about Evil during his exodus, like a pro's pro guy that just, blah, blah, blah. He can carry anybody. You have no idea. Like, and I'm always just like, the bells and whistles guy? Like, are we fucking for real?
The guy that's always used a chair baseball spot.
Yeah, people just don't get it. They don't see, I feel like the way they talk about Evil is the way you can what the actual reality of David Finlay as a worker is, except for he's also awesome. Like he's not just, we used to do that too. Like people would talk about Jay White, and there is a lot of Jay Whiteism in David Finlay, even though they're their own things, they'll always be intrinsically linked.
Yeah.
But two guys that are really, really, really smart. They do a lot of like nuanced things that kind of get overlooked, but for people that are paying attention, they matter and they really can help, uplift a match. That's not, I don't know. People talk about like Evil, like he does that shit. He doesn't do that shit. Like,
yeah.
Oh man. But going back to this match in particular, I'm really perplexed about why Fred Rosser, and this is no hate on Fred Rosser, a guy that he heads up the New Japan Academy. He's been with the company going back to the early days of the pandemic. He's been a player in New Japan of America for a long time, and he always kind of seems to have a spot on these shows, and that's pretty great. I guess it's good to see him move away from working with Tom Lawler after all these years. But I do wonder if like this is one of the very last outings, hypothetically, of David Finlay on a US show. Why is he in the opener against Fred Rosser? That's just fucking weird. Like I that doesn't work for me.
Yeah, it's a very weird match. And I think just the use of Fred Rosser's, it's kind of been weird in general. Like at one point, I mean, he was the top babyface of the US brand, and he's one of the head trainers at the academy, and this guy hasn't got a Japan date yet, and I don't understand why. I mean, can't be that expensive to fly Fred Rosser over for like one tour throughout the year. Like I feel like all the work he's done, I think it would be good to see what he does in a New Japan environment in Japan. But yeah, I don't get, the link here between, maybe there is some like history, like family history or like training history between these guys. But yeah, it is kind of a weird matchup out of the blue, yeah, especially for like Finlay's last match, which you would think that if this is going to be Finlay's last match, that there would be a bigger angle, stake on the line, like a loser leave. But I guess he might not leave, so I guess maybe they couldn't do that. But some kind of bigger, blow off situation.
I mean, bro, look at the card, and there's so many places you could have slotted him that just make more sense and make the card look more appealing. First one that just sticks out in my brain, him and Ricochet. I don't know why the fuck Taiji Ishimori's in that spot in the first place. Honestly, that screams Tony Khan booking to me all day because of like the Taiji Ishimori from Noah, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, if Ricochet is going to go over, which he is, and you want that title to matter, it should be over like an actual name, probably David Finlay. That would make a lot of sense to me. I think any matchup between either him and ELP, given their history, or Takeshita, that's another bigger match that would probably like be a highlight. I also think the Knockout Brothers, if he's on his way out, the fact that he is the dude that brought them in and their tag titles are such a big deal right now. Like, why the fuck didn't he like just grab a partner and be like, I made you guys and you're starting to, overstep, blah, blah, blah. Let me get those titles.
Yeah.
Every single one of those scenarios that I just pointed out is better than him and Fred Rosser.
Yeah, there's the story, there's motivation. It would have made a lot more sense. It's more continuity. But
fucking weird.
Yes,
and I don't know if he's going over.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like New Japan kind of likes to give guys wins on the way out. We've seen a lot of guys lately, their last match, they're winning. So, I mean, I could see him winning here, and it's like, we don't know where he's going next.
I don't like men to go out on their fronts like the
Tunnel Talk.
like the Tunnel Talk girls say. I like for them to go out on their back, so I think he should lose, but it seems like there's no way he's losing to Fred Rosser, so that's kind of weird. And who knows, maybe he does stick around. I would like it if he stuck around. The only thing with it is I just don't have faith in the company to do with him what they probably should be doing with him, which is push him harder.
Yeah.
At this point.
So yeah, I think I'm going to go with Finlay winning here and then kind of seeing what he does next.
Yep. Finlay wins a hard fought 11-minute opener.
Yeah. So following that, we'll have the NJPW Strong Openweight title. So Tomohiro Ishii will defend the title against Boltin Oleg.
Over under on Fred Rosser blading.
It's in his hometown. This is his territory.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, he's a New Jersey guy. He's a strong guy. Yeah, man, he might bust it out. Get some color.
I think Ishii Oleg Boltin is the most pure New Japan match on the show. And I mean, I don't know really what to think of it because on the one hand, it's like, if Oleg Boltin wins, he wins this kind of it's great for him to have beat Tomohiro Ishii in a meaningful match on a bigger stage, but it's also for this meaningless title that I don't know. Like, I think the idea of him just beating Ishii is a bigger deal than him than for him to even have won the title, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like that's the quote unquote, that's the real title here. Yeah, if he beats Ishii, that's a clear like elevation. It's a big moment. It's a step forward. But yeah, winning the Strong title is like, okay, there's not another US show until G1 in Chicago in July. and they don't really defend that title in Japan. So he's just going to be kind of carrying that around, or not really. It's not really going to elevate him. The title itself is not going to elevate him up the card. The win over Ishii will elevate him a little bit, especially going into New Japan Cup season.
The one reason I would want him to win from Ishii is for the prospect of a potential type of unification of that title down the road. So maybe, and I'm obviously this is wishful thinking because they haven't shown a propensity to do these things, but it just seems so apparent that the time for doing that is upon us. Mm-hmm. So they should, Ishii's not a guy that they want to elevate in that way anyways. Let's put the title on Oleg Boltin, and then down the road, maybe him and Narita or whoever the fuck like unify into the Never Belt and, kind of make it a true unified open weight title, whatever the fuck they want to call it. That's what I would like to see here, because it's like with Ishii, the question really isn't like, oh, can he beat Oleg Boltin? He probably will. The question is, what level of motivation is he going to have on this night to show out and, go beyond the typical Ishii big man story that he tells in the United States?
Yeah. Rich saying, but it will not be for the correct belt.
What does he mean by that?
I think he's saying that he should be going for the Never title.
Well, sure, but I mean, I'm fine with them just like unifying them shits and then doing whatever,
Yeah. But yeah, this should be a fun, hard-hitting match. I think it's the first time singles match between these guys. Yeah, I think I would go with Boltin Oleg getting the win here, even though, yeah, you're not really going to do much of a strong title. I mean, I think they should unify all strong titles. But yeah, I think Boltin needs to win a lot more. And Ishii's pretty banged up. I mean, this guy, he had seemed like a hip scare injury, hamstring injury from Dynamite last week, bloody nose, his shoulder still taped up. I mean, also he can still go, and his selling, quote unquote, not, I don't know if he was, how bad he was hurt, but the way he powered through that match last week was great. But yeah, he's hurting, he's getting old. So yeah, I think you need to put Boltin over here.
Oh, Rich had actually, he sent me a screenshot. So he had another comment in the chat there that said, "Hey fellas, glad the USA wrestlers can save the show. Andrade will outdo Jake Lee and help Tsuji reach the IWGP level, but it won't be for the correct belt."
Okay, gotcha.
So he's talking about the white belt. That's fucking funny.
Gotcha. Yeah, that part didn't come through for some reason on my
if Ishii does win, I wouldn't really be. Yeah, he might be banged up, but he doesn't need to be defending this title anyways, because when's the next time they're running the States? We don't even fucking know.
Yeah, July for a G1.
Oh, that's right. In July. Yeah, but that's for the G1. That's not even real. They're not going to defend a strong title there. And then, Oleg Boltin is one of the trio's champions. So if he wins, it'll be the cool optics. Those young mark wrestlers always love to show themselves draped in gold. So he will, put the title in his luggage and and he'll wear it in Cork and Hall and shit like that, where a guy like he's just like, I don't know, it's fucking I left it
I left it in catering at Ring of Honor at AEW.
Yeah, it's with the backstage handlers at AEW. I don't know, I didn't bring that shit so, but I could see Tsuji retaining, because I don't know, they sometimes, or yeah, I'm sorry, Ishii, because they don't always seem to be apt to push these young guys like they should. But they should put over Oleg Boltin. That'd be the right move. I hope this match is as good as it possibly looks like it could be on paper. And the thing I was pointing to earlier, and this is the last thing I'll mention about it, Ishii has like 3 or 4 templated match layouts, and one of the most popular ones is Ishii versus the big man. And can he get that dude up for a fucking
brainbuster? Yeah,
brainbuster. And sometimes that match can be, they're always good, but sometimes they could be a little templated. So it's like, how much is he going to give to this guy, and how hard is he going to work for him to get him over? And hopefully someone is like, hey, you got to make this dude, let's steal the fucking show,
Yeah. I think if they lead into like the hard hitting, which we've seen Boltin do with Takeshita, it could end up being a really great match. But it is only the second match on the card. I don't know how much time they're going to get, but we've seen Ishii have 4-star matches in 10 minutes. So if they give him 10 minutes and let him do the hard hitting never style, this should be a really fun match. So following that, we got the AEW National title, Ricochet defending against Taiji Ishimori. So this was made from New Beginning in Osaka after the tag title match. Ricochet laid out the challenge to Ishimori. Ishimori accepted, and here we go, national title match.
This really honestly does so very little for me as a fan. This is not really much of an appeal whatsoever, mainly just because it's like, okay, Ishimori is a highly talented guy, and is there the potential that these two guys, kind of outkick their coverage and take the training wheels off and really, Rich is saying this match should have been in 2018, LOL. Like if this had taken place pre-pandemic and Ishimori was still thinking like, oh, maybe if I really work really hard and it's in the States, and I can, catch the eyes of some agents that are abroad, maybe open up some doors. Let's see what fucking happens.
Maybe I get Regal peeking through the curtains. Yeah.
But it's like, they still have the capability, the both of them, to have that type of match. It's just like, A, will they do it? I don't know. B, Ishimori's a junior, bro. And there's no getting, and he's also popular domestically, but he's not this international superstar that people are clamoring to watch. Regal scouting. And the thing with the last time that we saw Ricochet, he was headlining the Dome against ZSJ and presented as like a top main eventer, even if the show didn't really draw that well. Him carrying this title, I don't even know why the fuck he challenged Ishimori. That's the weird part. That's the thing about the setup that's also not doing it for me, is he got on camera. He's like, who I really want to fight? Taiji Ishimori. I'm calling you out. And it's like, you're the champion. Why would you be calling out Taiji Ishimori? It makes no sense.
Yeah. Rich saying Ricochet is a former Heavy Q Tokyo Dome main eventer, and he's fighting a junior now. Yeah, the Ishimori, like, I get it from maybe, like, I don't know, a quote-unquote dream match perspective. Like, these guys are, two top high flyers, but it's like, Ishimori is not, that guy from Noah anymore. And Ricochet, as great as he is, he's not that guy from Best of Super Juniors. I don't expect, this to be some super crazy, off-the-wall, high-flying matchup. Like, it'll probably be a very good match, but I don't think this is the match that maybe some people think it will end up being. And again, it's third match on the card. It's for his national title, which, I don't know. To me, I feel like the whole rollout, presentation, and use of the national title has not been good. It's supposed to be this title that's, defended everywhere. I feel like Ricochet hasn't really defended it in that many places. And when he does, like, it's not against anybody that's like a top caliber guy. In AEW, him and Jack Perry, I feel like, have been feuding forever now, and Jack Perry just keeps losing, and they're continuing that rivalry and story. And so the national title to me doesn't feel important. Ricochet, even though he's doing great work, doesn't really feel as important right now. And so, this just kind of feels like just a match to me.
Well, it's not Ricochet's fault. Like, let's call a spade. Fuck MJF, because this dude decided, oh, you know what? Right around the same time, we're going to come up with a title that needs to be, defended abroad, both domestically and internationally. And that's the entire literal purpose of the title. I think I want to be a traveling champion now. Start working with all the main eventers and all the indies, and then take up all the spotlight. It's just, I don't know. That's just what I want to do. And it's like, all right, bro, fucking stole this dude's flow bar for bar. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, he killed Ricochet's, like, the purpose of the title even existing in the first place. So I don't know. That's I know like Rich and James had probably brought that up a little while back, I think, but I haven't heard too many people talk about that. And it's like, like, Tony, you just let this dude MJF literally kill your fucking gimmick. Like, what are you doing? But yeah, I just Rich says, if people didn't want to actually work with MJF, this sure would be a great way to hide and run defenses. But it just, to me, I am in favor of wacky matches, and I am in favor of dream matches. And I mean, we've seen some of that stuff over the years on these US shows, but I just feel like if you got a guy from AEW who is the stature of Ricochet, and you're trying to market the show in a meaningful way, and this is no shade on Taiji Ishimori, it needs to be somebody a little higher up, you know? Mm-hmm. And I know that they're going to have to do a job because it's for a title and they're not switching the belt, but I don't know, Jeremy, like if you just had carte blanche to grab anybody that is available in New Japan to put on this card in an appealing match against Ricochet, who would you do?
So somebody that's not already booked on this card?
Yeah, just someone that you can grab that you're like, that match would fucking rule, and they're the right level of name and the right level of guy to like do a job that they'll be okay. You know what I mean?
What about Yuya Uemura?
Perfect. That's like, and you know what? I'm almost thinking of more of like not a young guy, almost like maybe someone a little more established, but like I almost feel like could Goto do it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or maybe why not Zach? Why not have Zach
rematch?
Do the rematch and return the favor? Like, I'm just like, it's a half booked building that is still like half full. So it's like a quarter filled building right now, and got a lot of tickets to sell. And I gotta be honest with you. Like, we might look back. Rich says Robbie Eagles. I like Robbie. Robbie has been in the, it kind of sucks. Did Robbie never got that MJF match, did he?
No, there was like a multi-man match on the house show the next day. I think that he was with MJF.
Kind of sucks. Yeah, I just think it needs to be a name that would. I love Robbie. I just don't know if Robbie and Ricochet in the States on this level of card right now today moves tickets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Ricochet has cachet with the Western audience. You want to put a guy like that. Now, I know it's not.
Hey, how about this? How about Ricochet versus Shingo?
Exactly. That's exactly the name. That's perfect. It's something like that is what they should have done here. And instead it's Taiji Ishimori. And the match might deliver. We might be talking about a 4-star match when it's all said and done. And that's really cool. But that's going to be cool for the people watching, not for the people that they didn't draw.
Yeah. Well, moving on to the next match, we have El Desperado and Kushida taking on Alec Price and Jordan Oliver. So Price and Oliver, recent AEW signings, had a couple matches on TV recently, and so a random team here of Desperado and Kushida.
You know, if he wasn't in this match, Desperado might be a guy that would make sense with Ricochet, just given the status of his name and everything. That's a possibility. But have Desperado and Kushida teamed together? Did I miss something?
I don't think so, because Kushida hasn't really been on a New Japan show probably since Super Juniors or Super Junior Tag League. Yeah,
it'll always be weird that Desperado is technically Hantai, but I still don't feel like he fits into Hantai at all. And Kushida is basically non-existent. He's another one of those guys that like he just kind of exists on the US shows because he's a name that is adjacent to New Japan, but he's really not even a New Japan guy anymore. He's almost more of an MLW guy at this point.
Yeah.
And my understanding is he turned heel recently.
Yeah, that's right. He turned heel. He joined the Contra unit.
Oh, yeah, he's Contra.
So I'm wondering, because, you know, New Japan does occasionally work with MLW, and they're doing like some kind of Fantastica Mania style show in the US with CMLL and New Japan MLW. I'm wondering if this is, you know, Kushida's heel turn in New Japan to kind of play off his new character in MLW.
Who the fuck knows? But, you know, I don't really know Alec Price, honestly. I do know Jordan Oliver. We've seen him over the years in a variety of different companies, most notably his time in GCW. And he's a guy that, like, I've kept my eye on. At one point, I just thought he was, like, very gangly and, like, decent for an indie level, but not polished the way that you want a pro to be. And as the years have gone on, I've noticed him maturing, growing into his body, becoming more dynamic. I don't know how they're coming off because I haven't been watching AEW. I don't know how they've come off over there if that's kind of your take on him, but I do think that he's a promising, up and coming guy. And I don't know, this probably is intended to be some sort of showcase for these young AEW guys to some extent.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that he used to really suck on like back in the day, like pre-pandemic. Like I used to hate watching any show or match that he was in. But yeah, I think he's really grown a lot, really developed, really worked hard to be a really top indie guy and have this great tag team with Alec Price and getting signed. So it should be a really good match. Again, this is like one of the matches you really starve. Like this is like strong style booking of two random New Japan stars against this random indie tag team. Like this is going to have no ramifications on New Japan whatsoever unless there is some kind of angle between Desperado and Kushida.
And in a different company on an indie show, perfectly fine. On a produce show, you know what I mean? Perfectly fine. For New Japan, New Beginning USA pay-per-view, you got to pay to view it. It's in an arena. I don't know. I just don't feel like this match works for me. And that's no shade. It's not even like shade to like the young AEW guys. And it's just like, I don't know why the fuck Kushida and Desperado are together. I don't know why they're facing these guys. And win, lose, or draw, what really are the ramifications? And the best case scenario, are we hoping for Kushida, a guy that's never with the company and just basically always loses every Super Junior now, that he's going to turn heel or something? And how would it's all bullshit. None of it really matters. Maybe hypothetically, the one storyline that could get established here is maybe this Despe Death Invitational Mania weekend. These guys can come back and work it. Maybe this will get out of hand and they'll get bloodied up or something. This is secretly the plunder match. We didn't even realize it, but you know how they like to have those plunder matches in the middle of these cards. This might be the one.
Yeah, you mentioned Jordan Oliver GCW background. So yeah, do you run something with Despi and Oliver or something at the Def Vegas Invitational?
This is secretly a tryout for all three of these guys to get on that show.
Yeah, Rich and Alec Price is kind of look like the one to watch out of them too.
That might very well be the case. I don't even know who Alec Price is. I've never seen him. I can't even speak to I don't even know what he looks like. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't know anything just yet. It's going to be a first time experience for me.
Yeah. So probably Desperado and Kushida are probably going to get the win there.
And here's the thing. I think that this is the disconnect with me in this show and other people. Every single one of these matches could potentially be a quality match. So if you're just looking at it from a pure star rating standpoint where you're like, hey, this might deliver, there's a lot of good talent matchups. That's true in like the Fire Pro sense. You know what I mean? Like in the, who knows? You throw these two guys together, you roll a craps and you see what comes out. Maybe it's going to be good, but like of all of those, so far we're 4 matches in, there's only one match that really resonates from a New Japan standpoint that makes sense to me. The rest of them, I'm like really questioning, why did this even fucking get booked?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm kind of coming from, where I'm like, I'm not in love with this show because I just don't, it's not New Japan to me.
Yeah. Well, moving on, this next match is New Japan NJPW World Television title match. El Phantasmo defending against the Alpha, Konosuke Takeshita. These guys have a little bit of history here, so they are 2-1-1 with Takeshita having the winning record in the rivalry right now. So they've had some really great matches, especially that G1 match a couple of years ago, and they've done some other matches that have been pretty good as well. They've had some draws. So yeah, these guys have really great chemistry, and it should be a fun match.
So on the one hand, they've had matches before. They have a rivalry. There's a history there. That's all established. So it's like, yeah, it is kind of a New Japan like structured deal, But to me, the reason I'm not high on this is because why the fuck did Takeshita go from headlining the Dome to working fourth from the top in the US against ELP for the dinner tray title that nobody fucking wants? And now he's got to win, right? Or do another non-finish, which ELP's entire run has been plagued with non-finishes.
Yeah.
And do you think ELP should be beating Takeshita? And this is no slight on ELP, but he just shouldn't be beating Takeshita.
Yeah, I mean, I would put Takeshita over here. But yeah, it does seem like a weird, demotion, which I get also. You don't want to, you're not going to put him in the main event title match right away, but the TV title seems like a way step down compared to just challenging in the main event or the semi-main event in Tokyo Dome.
This is one of those, I know we always complain like when a champion is in a match and it's not for the title, and we're like, well, it's a giveaway that they're probably going to lose. And if they're not going to lose, why wasn't the title just on the line in the first place, right? But in most cases, that's because the guys are either evenly matched or the champion is of a higher caliber than the challenger. But when it's Takeshita challenging this guy, they should have just made this non-title, honestly, because he shouldn't really be saddled with that TV title. Because he wins, he's going to have to carry it around, and then he's going to have to work 15-minute time limit matches. And I don't know. I guess he could bring it on to AEW television or whatever the fuck if they even want that. I know Tony loves titles, but does he? I don't know how he feels about that ugly ass brown belt. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Takeshita's going to be challenging Mox for the Continental title in a couple weeks. So I kind of feel like he might win that one.
I think that somebody looked at this and was like, this is a good utilization of Takeshita on this card because it's a title match. He's going up against a known name. And I have to disagree. I think this is a situation where it's like, you wanted to make it authentic New Japan. You should have had him in there with a bigger New Japan name towards the top. He just headlined the Dome. He's one of the biggest names in AEW. It just doesn't fucking make sense for me. From a quality, yeah, Rich says 2025 Wrestling Observer newsletter, most outstanding, disrespected again, bring take home. Now, him and ELP, they've had one match in particular that I just thought was a match of the year candidate level in the G1 a couple years ago. I thought it was the best match of the entire G1. And it's the kind of match where people like some of the New Japan gatekeepery, like pro elitists, didn't want to even acknowledge how good the match was at the time. And it's kind of been forgotten by the wayside. But every match between these guys after that, even though they've been quality, it's been diminishing returns every single time. They have never gotten close to what they delivered during that one match.
Yeah. And I just feel like, again, this could have been a spot where you could have done Takeshita versus Goto, Takeshita versus Sabre, winner gets a title shot. And, maybe they couldn't do that because maybe Takeshita's not coming back for a while. But, I mean, I feel like he should have tried to work it up to a spot to where he could have got a title shot down the line, Don Taku or something. I feel that would have been more compelling and kind of a way to try and get him back into the title picture.
Yeah, I think that he should be contending in a position that gets him prepared for either a white belt title challenge or a rematch for the world title or headlining with a bigger known name. Again, this really is no slight to ELP. I'm a fan of ELP. He's a fantastic talent, but he's not really a truly established name in the States. And I know some people are probably, listening and saying like, well, this is how you get there. And it's like, it's been on the roster a long time. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, they have been, very clear that they do not see ELP at a top level and they're not going to push him there. Like, he has had a lot of momentum in the past. He did a lot of great stuff in Bullet Club, and the face turn was awesome. And then they just decided, you know what, we're just going to kind of keep him in that lower mid card, silly, happy-go-lucky bayface spot and not really do anything with him.
Yeah. Now we might turn around next week because of the chemistry between these guys, and also the fact that it is a stateside show. And I do genuinely believe that the first time they wrestled, that I think El Phantasmo, this is just my personal opinion, but I believe he was treating that match like a tryout match for AEW, and he went balls to the wall and was like, I'm going to kill myself to have this 5-star classic. And when he's motivated to, especially in Cork and Hall, he can fucking do it. He's an incredible talent. ELP is, but I don't know, man. Like the kayfabe just doesn't fucking work for me, brother. You know, like
it's not like he's on this hot like TV title. It's not like it was like Zach's run where he's having all these great TV title matches and defending against top people. Like he's defending against middle of the road people, not even beating them, going to the time limit draw. He went back and forth for Great Ocon. It's like he's not having these compelling matches or compelling reign like Zach had. It's kind of like this middle of the road reign.
He didn't beat Tanahashi, did he?
Yeah, I think that went to the time limit. Yeah.
It's like how many time limit draws and double count out? Like it's so many, and they might do that here again. They might non-finish it because you don't necessarily want to put the albatross of that title around Takeshita, but you also don't want to have Takeshita lose to ELP. So it does seem like the most likely outcome is Takeshita wins. But then guess what? Takeshita wins that title. Now he's going to have to eventually drop it to somebody in a 15-minute time. It's just, why are we doing this? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Unless we also want to amount the ultimate goal here is to have Oleg Boltin take that never title and that strong title. And we take this 15-minute time limit title. And next year in the Dome, we get Oleg Boltin versus Takeshita, all 3 belts, IWGP open weight title, crown, triple crown, whatever the fuck. Like, if that's where we're going, then I'm fine with it. You know what I mean?
I highly doubt that's where we're going.
If they do put the title on Takeshita, this is the only, and I know I've been critical of his run last year, but this is the truth. This is the only logical use of him and that title that would make any sense. He holds the title almost the whole entire year, all the way through to Wrestle Kingdom, and he fucking beats everybody's ass that he wrestles in those 15-minute matches. And he has a run akin to the run that Zack Sabre Jr. had with the belt the first time that he held it.
Yeah, I think you could use Takeshita to elevate the title back up to a more prominent status if that's what you're intending to do. But if they're not, then yeah, I don't know what we're doing here.
And I hope he has some really good title defenses on like, Collision.
Yeah. So next matchup, we got the IWGP Tag Team title match. The Knockout Brothers, Oscar and Yuto Ice, will take on the GOA, Bishop Khan and Toa Leona.
Now, I've bitched literally. I know there's probably some people that are high on the show that are fucking pissed about me, but this is genuinely how I see the show. But you're not going to hear too many more complaints from me from the top end of the show, honestly, because I do think that these are the 3 matches we're getting at the top are the types of matches that you do want from crossover shows. The only negative thing I will point out is just maybe not enough authentic New Japan. You bring New Japan to America, you want to see actual New Japan. We're not getting quite that. Mm-hmm. But if you are going to bring a tag team from AEW and bring them into the company to have them face KOB in a match that they're both going to lose, but they're also going to get the opportunity to work with like the most popular tag act probably in the world right now, honestly, that's a fantastic opportunity. We've seen Gates of Agony. They worked World Tag League a couple years ago. They had a lot of like acclaim and appeal at the time. So this is just another opportunity for them to kind of get in the limelight on a New Japan show, kind of, expand their horizons a little bit. And they're a very hard-hitting team, and I think it's also a good learning experience for KOB because they haven't really worked too many teams similar to the power that Gates of Agony bring to the table.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very intriguing matchup. The only thing I would say about GOA, I just wish that they came in a little bit more pushed. Like, they're very good workers, very intense. They're learning, but they lose a lot. So it just, obviously they're going to lose here, but it just screams like lower card tag team challenging these guys. But from an in-ring standpoint, like they are, the powerhouses. They work really hard. They looked good during that World Tag League tour, and they've been having some good matches on TV. They had good 6-man tag matches past weekend. So it should be a very fun, hard-hitting match. And I think, like you mentioned, the benefit here is definitely going to be learning experience for both teams. I think, GOA can learn something from working, New Japan style and working against this team. And then, I think Oscar and Yuto Ice can, do a different match format, working with a more powerhouse team. Also, I think it's a good opportunity to get the first kind of taste of what is KOB's reaction in the U.S.
Mm-hmm. I think they're going to be over. They're going to be one of the most over acts on the show. Every indication from every level of awards, both internationally and domestic, tell us that people are very aware of who these guys are, so there's that to think about. I think the thing is here, it's going to be great for KOB to have a name of some substance on their docket to kind of showcase, like, to add a little bit of prestige to the titles and the reign. But for like GOA, I don't really, obviously I'm not watching AEW all the time. I don't know how pushed they are in terms of, like, I know that you said they're not winning a lot, but I don't know what echelon of tag teams they're jobbing out to on the regular. But there are very few teams in AEW nowadays that are as popular in front of a live audience as KOB are. So I feel like not only is it the working with them, but it's going to be being in front of a stage where KOB is going to be getting so much spotlight that it's going to help GOA shine and kind of make more people kind of aware of them and see them and kind of maybe even elevate them a little bit because they're on the same stage as them. Yeah.
I think it could be a great spot for them. And, I wouldn't mind GOA coming back in for like a World Tag League or, doing some more dates in Japan.
I can tell you right now, a lot of people are always questioning, like, oh, okay, who's Tony going to bring in for Forbidden Door, blah, 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 blah. He's going to bring in KOB. That is like or at the very least, Yuto Ice. He might even be the kind of person that's like, I don't see anything in Oscar, but we want that Yuto Ice guy to come work the show.
Yeah, there's been some people getting the Knockout Brothers match, in front of FTR's eyes. So who knows? Maybe FTR will end up lobbying for that match, and we get FTR versus Knockout Brothers.
But this will be good. And again, speaking to the Tony Khan of it all, because you have to talk about it because there's so much of his talent that's on the show. It's like a Ricochet versus Taiji Ishimori. That tells you all day who's going over there. And then, they bring, like you said, you kind of wish that they would have brought in either GOA a little bit more pushed or maybe even a more pushed, substantial team. But they don't want somebody that's substantial or pushed to lose to these guys on New Japan show. So it's like you can always tell what's happening here with this sort of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and Rich being the body police here, saying Tony Leono's in incredible shape right now, but Oscar's got to do some push-ups.
Well, tall guys don't always have to, be body guys. That they can kind of get away with it a little bit. Just ask Giant Gonzalez, and if worst comes to worst, put on a bodysuit, But no, he's absolutely, Toa Leona is both of them are incredible physical specimens, but Toa Leona is like, she's fucking ripped, jacked.
So, I'll see. We expect the KOB to retain here. So that brings us to the semi-main event. IWGP Women's title match. Shuri will defend against the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion, Athena.
So on the one hand, I do think that this match, the matchup, the names involved is exciting, right? We have criticized New Japan for, it's like, okay, you unveiled women's titles. You don't really have a women's division. And when you have the girls, you don't put them in the right spots, yada, yada, yada. It's few and far between where they do something that's truly compelling. And then finally at Wrestle Kingdom, they unified, well, not unified, but they had the double title match. And like I predicted, they had Shuri win both belts. And I assumed it was partially because Shuri works the States and she's going to come defend the Strong or IWGP tag or, women's title. And that's played out here. It is weird that it is only the IWGP women's title, which actually makes me a little, honestly, it makes me nervous for Shuri's chances here. And then she's going up against Athena. My understanding is Athena is still the ROH women's world champion, right?
Yes.
And I really kind of thought like they should have just had that title on the line too. I know that politically that probably would be a conundrum, but I'm just like, do cool shit. You got two women's world champions. You want to put the one title on the line, not the other one. No, fuck that. Run it. You want my belt? Give me a chance at your belt, because let me put it to you this way. This is some funny shit. I never read his book, but I read an excerpt from his book, but many, many years ago, Brock Lesnar was talking about one of the things that led him to leave WWE. And it was when the match was booked between him and The Rock in a return match in Miami in a non-televised singles match, but it was going to be one of the bigger like arenas. And it was very highly publicized in the local market. And Brock Lesnar was the champion at the time. Mm-hmm. And he was going to job clean to The Rock. And they didn't want to tell Brock that he was doing the job. So he's the WWE champion on the SmackDown brand and all that shit. And it's like 03. And he said like he's sitting in a room and it's like him and The Rock and Pat Patterson, whoever else. And they're trying to lay out the fucking match. And Brock's like, okay, so when do I hit the F5?
When do I hit my move?
Because they were like laying out the match for him, and they start talking about like The Rock's comeback and shit. And he's like, all right, but when do I cut you off? And when do I hit my move? And then he said The Rock got like kind of nervous and like chucklies. Like they didn't tell you? And he's like, I'm winning. And like Brock was fucking pissed, and they were like, it's not a big deal. It's a non-title match. You're not going to lose the title. It's not even on TV. And he's just like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Why would the champion lose a singles match fair and square and not lose the title? It doesn't matter if it's not for the title. Like I'm not the champion anymore because I'm supposed to be the champion. And now you got me losing clean to this guy. He's like, you should just put the title on him. You know what I mean? Like, and I know Rich is in the chat. It goes back to the lineal title idea that me and him like to talk about, the man who beat the man. So I said all that to say this, it's like, they're both world champions. Fuck it. Have them both put their titles on the line, because then I'm like, oh shit, that's some big stakes here. But now it's just for the IWGP women's title. And I'm like, it's kind of a fake title anyways.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this screams Shuri's winning, because I feel like if Athena was winning, they would have put the ROH Women's World Title on the line. Because I think, the dirty little secret is like Athena is not really super pushed either. Like in the ROH bubble, yeah, she's been the champion for forever now, and she's pushed heavily on that little brand. But anytime she's on AEW TV, she's losing. Like her and Mercedes got knocked out the first round of the women's tag team title. Like she's constantly doing jobs whenever she's on AEW TV, and is not pushed to this super top level that she is in Ring of Honor, and also she's a great wrestler and does a lot of good work, and people really elevate her. But when it comes to who's pushed, who's a star, and who does Tony value, clearly he keeps her in a little box on the paywall TV, and she's not getting the big push on the bigger programs. And so, again, it's kind of that GOA situation. Like, who can we send that I don't care about taking the job? Oh, yeah, let me send Athena.
I mostly agree. I like agree with 90% of that. I think it's all spot on. But New Japan also doesn't care about these titles.
Yeah.
So you also have to that's the one caveat where it's like, Shuri's not even really a New Japan talent. She's a Stardom talent. This really is a Stardom title in all but name, even though like it's physically, it's IWGP, it's owned by New Japan as a company. They kind of just let Stardom do whatever the fuck they want with that belt. It is so weird that the strong title is not also on. They should just both be on the line. I don't know why. Yeah. But anyways, if you wanted to have Shuri go back to Stardom and just stay a champion and keep defending that strong title over there, but you wanted to kind of add a little bit of prestige to Tony and do a quid pro quo, and maybe hypothetically, let's just say Andrade is not going over in the main event here, but you need to give him a little sweetener. Maybe you let double world champion Athena be a thing going into 2026. You know what I mean? It's done wonders for some of the other women in their company, people going around winning multiple titles. Maybe Athena can carry that IWGP women's title and the ROH strong title, and who knows? Maybe she turns around and drops both those shits to Mercedes.
Rich saying I could easily see since Shuri has worked in AEW4, drop it off here and win it back at Forbidden Door.
I could see something like that easily happening, or I could see them setting up like Shuri versus Mercedes down the line, and you put over Athena now, so Athena puts over Mercedes. She's the sacrificial. She looks like the winner here, but she's really the sacrificial lamb. So we can set up a bigger title match down the line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is you're probably right. Athena's probably losing, but I kind of wouldn't be that surprised because Tony doesn't value her, but why didn't Tony send like Red Velvet?
Well, it's a semi-main event spot.
And you know what? That's the other thing I was going to say. This shouldn't be in the semi-main event spot. And this is not a slight on these particular women because they're two of the best talents in the world and there's no getting around that. But we got tickets to sell. And why the fuck is Takeshita fourth from the top? And why the fuck is David Finlay in the opener? And why is Ricochet fighting Taiji Ishimori? This is booking malpractice.
Why is Death being a random tag?
From a business standpoint, for a big new beginning show in the US, the card on paper, this is what I'm talking about. This is why I'm like kind of shitting on it all, because it's like, if it's a Fire Pro thing and you're just looking for star ratings, sure, the show looks quality, but how many quality strong shows have we seen in half empty, Dallas, Texas, gymnasiums?
Yeah.
Some pretty good shows. We've seen some really good strong shows that just did no fucking business. This is closer to those than like when we went to Chicago and they actually booked some shit. They didn't really book anything here. Like we're getting AEW leftovers and non-important matches. And this match in particular, it is this would be like a really good TV match for like a Wednesday night Dynamite. Like I don't know where on their card that would fit, but like this would fit really, really well, or even like on one of their pay-per-views. But can you see Tony Khan putting Athena and Shuri second from the top on a major AEW show, like a special? No, this doesn't belong there. Unfortunately, I would love to live in a world where, that they are seen at that stature, but part of the reason that this event's not drawing, they didn't book it the right way. And this is a semi-main event and it's not something that's going to help business in that way. This should be fourth from the top, not second, not semi-main event.
Yeah. I think the whole card order is just kind of weird on the show. Like, why is the Despy match, that random tag match in the middle of the card, not the opener? Yeah, why is Finley in the opener? Why is a strong title so early on the show? So yeah, I think even with the card they have here, the order is a little weird.
I don't know. Ask Rocky. He's probably booking this. Who knows? Or maybe it's weird because he's not booking. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but yeah, it's weird.
You're a pro at running your life, at committing to your workout, at showing up every day. At Bombas, we're pros too. Pros at making socks. Our sport assortment has specialized socks for whatever sport you're committed to. Running, hiking, golf, Pilates, and so much more. Made with sweat-wicking yarns, blister-fighting details, and targeted arch support. Bombas Sport is pro-level socks from the pros of socks. For another pro, you. Go to bombas.com/audio and use code audio for 20% off your first purchase. That's bombas.com and use code audio.
Well, that takes us to the main event for the IWGP Global Heavyweight title. Yota Tsuji defends against the Latino man, Andrade El Idolo.
It's the one match that on paper has a lot of appeal. It's the thing that you and I talked about where I said the reason I thought Gabe Kidd was going to lose to Andrade is because from a business standpoint, for a show of this stature and something that can draw Andrade and Yota Tsuji just makes more sense. It's a more marquee matchup. It's for the white belt and
LIJ lore.
Yeah, there's a lot of LIJ lore there. There's a lot of good to the match. There's also some weird, not only political, but kayfabe ramifications depending on how things shake out, because I don't know, Jeremy, tell me, I know that Andrade's been winning a lot over in AEW, but I haven't kept up in the last few weeks, so I don't know exactly what's going on. I know I know that they paid like some women, potentially some content creators to basically play his entourage out in the crowd, but I think that has that not like started to turn into an actual organic thing, and now like women want to
so far it's all been planned. So it's all been like trainees or indie wrestlers or content creators in the crowd. So yeah, he's been on fire last few weeks. He beat Swerve, he beat Kenny, he had a great match against Hangman in Australia. He came up short there, and then on TV recently he says he's not done with the world title. He did show up at the indie show where MJF went against Zilla Fatu and interfered there. So it seems like they're trying to keep him in that main event picture.
So from a quality standpoint, this is two names that are both kind of on the rise. Obviously, like Tsuji had a really, 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 really hot January, and then the match with Jake Lee kind of put a little bit of cold water on that, kind of cool that man's jets a little bit, but they have the opportunity here to kind of turn things around. He's got like a big name opponent from a rival company and a guy that's sort of getting reestablished in New Japan and, international superstar. But I do have some worries. I don't think the match could possibly be bad. It's not going to be bad, but there are very high expectations considering the two names involved. Mm-hmm. And I have some trepidation about the potential styles matchup here, because while Tsuji has been in Mexico before and he has worked the lucha style, and obviously Andrade has wrestled everywhere and done it all, I don't know that Tsuji is 100% going to mesh well with a guy who does the things that Andrade does, and that I think what I'm getting at is Tsuji is a guy that is so homegrown at this point and is so accustomed to working the house style of New Japan that I don't know that he has the chops today to get the best type of match out of himself with a guy like Andrade on this sort of stage in this environment. Mm.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting test for him. And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with the Jake Lee situation. It's like, all right, as a champion, you're going to get thrown in these different scenarios. You're going to get an opponent like Jake Lee where you're going to have to try and carry him. You're going to get an opponent like Andrade who, he's been all over the place. He's not going to wrestle the house style. How do you step up and how do you elevate yourself? So hopefully they do put together a match where Tsuji does shine and can not have to stick to the quote unquote, house style formula. So yeah, it'll be an interesting test for him there. But yeah, I think it's going to be a very good match. And I think, Tsuji knows enough lucha, I think, to put together something fun with Andrade. And he's been doing some fun stuff on Fantastica Mania. So I think the foundation is there. And I think both guys are smart enough, I think, to put together something that's going to work really well.
Well, I hate to be this guy, but it has to be more than just fun. It has to be of the caliber of IWGP. I know it's not for the IWGP heavyweight title, but it's for the global title. It's the white belt. It's got the IWGP name on it. And it's two guys that are seen at the very top of the sport. And it will be another detriment if the match doesn't deliver. And the talking point isn't going to be that Andrade wasn't up to the task. You know what I mean? Like
right.
A guy who's just like, he's so well respected as a worker, but also, yeah, he can be inconsistent at times, but right now he's just fucking on.
Yeah, he's on fire right now.
So, that's something where it's like, damn, if Tsuji, and you know what? This kind of reminds me of a little bit. It's not quite the same thing, but like, Hiroshi Tanahashi wrestled Kurt Angle during one of his early title reigns. A lot of people probably either know that, but haven't seen it or are not aware. And you would imagine that match would just be so stellar, especially a young, established in his prime Tanahashi versus, we're talking about like Perk Angle, TNA Perk Angle, like the fucking crazy man
flipping off the stage.
Yeah, bro. And the match is good, but it's not really nearly as good as you think it probably could or should have been. It's actually, considering the guys involved, kind of a little bit disappointing. And it's partially because like Tanahashi just at that point was not versed enough in working enough international style. Like he really had only worked like Puroresu and like the Japanese house style. He just didn't really know how to get like the best out of a guy like Kurt Angle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm a little cautious about this. Plus, there's going to be the optics of if this show does, if they don't, New Japan has a terrible tendency of when a show in the States doesn't get filled up, they don't do the right things in lighting it, presenting it, and shooting it, and miking it in a way that covers up some of those shortcomings. They expose the shit out of it. So then it's like you have these two names. Andrade's perceived as a big star from WWE, and then you got Tsuji. And if the card, if we're watching the match and there's a ton of empty seats and it's, there's smoke all in the atmosphere and it looks terrible, he's going to get the blame for it.
Yeah.
Even though they didn't. And you know what? There's some of that will be true. I'm not trying to take the blame away from him because part of it will be true, but they also didn't do a good job promoting this show properly. And he's a victim of that. And I feel like if the match is going to have to really, really deliver, because they're going to be working up against, or the crowd is just going to have to over deliver and overcompensate and be so hot for the match despite the numbers. Because if the crowd is lackluster and the match is maybe not as good as it should be, and then they don't draw the way they need to, and the crowd is kind of half filled, you're going to look back at it and be like, damn, like Tsuji, bro, like, what are you doing?
Yeah. I just pulled up the latest WrestleTix number from yesterday.
I was going to Ticketmaster. I was trying to see.
So the current setup is for 2,783. They've distributed 2,364, but this building can hold 8,576.
Okay, so they've moved some of the tickets.
Yeah.
So that's good, because at one point it was a lot less. They're probably going to do the thing that we've seen in arenas like this, where they put up the curtains and they cut off a portion of the so maybe it won't look quite as dire, But I just see so many things that could potentially be going up against them that it's not the layup that it looks like on paper when you think Tsuji and Andrade, because it's like, now if they had an easy 4,000 to 5,000 in the crowd that they just lay down and sold those out, I wouldn't even be fucking fretting, because it's like, damn, they did business, got two of the best in the world, gonna have a hot crowd, but I know they're not gonna have a hot crowd in Trenton, New Jersey. Yeah,
and that goes back to our discussion on what a weird location for this show. Again, I feel like they are doing less shows, but I think if you're doing less shows, you need to do it in the hot markets. And like New Jersey's, especially Trenton, New Jersey's not really been a hot, spot for New Japan. And they're doing Chicago in July. I mean, they should have tried like New York, Philly. They should California. They've always drawn well in California and have a big fan base there. Like
it should have been New York or Philly. Like, it's that simple. It should have been one of those two markets.
Yeah.
Yeah. But with all the negatives that have been said, the match could and should deliver. And Tsuji has the opportunity here to really shut up a lot of the naysayers and have something that is somewhat defining. And I do think that Andrade is he looked really good in the Gabe match, and he's on fire right now. And he might have this motivation like, hey, for the health of this business and everything, I saw what Takeshita did with this kid. I need to, go out of my way to kind of like make him, sort of thing, especially after the Jake Lee debacle.
Yeah.
But then that's going to take us back to the final question here. And it's the political and the kayfabe ramification of like, okay, from a political standpoint, does Tony Khan want another top star from his company jobbing out to Yota Tsuji? Okay, there's that.
Yeah,
which I'm not sold on. Mm-hmm. And then the inverse of that is, okay, if that's the case and he's not going to let a second guy lose to Tsuji, and Andrade does in fact win the white belt, how do we rectify that with the fact that he's beating the IWGP World Champion?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's just one of those things where they just let it slip under the rug and they just focus on New Japan Cup and the winner is challenging Tsuji at Sakura Genesis, and then they just kind of forget that Tsuji lost to him and they just kind of, barrel forward.
I don't know. I guess that's fine. Seems like some of the same similar logic to what they were trying to do with Narita and Aaron Wolf, and just try and get the loss out of the way day one and hope no one notices, But the fans don't have that short of memory. They're going to remember. And maybe they want to get back to Andrade and Tsuji down the line. So maybe you have him lose here so that they can set up a future title match, assuming Tsuji is still champion later in the year at that point. You know what I mean? But
yeah. Also, another thing too, Andrade is following the Mercedes playbook and, going to Europe and starting to win these random titles. I think he's picked up like one or two titles in Europe now, and he's kind of, globe trotting and going around the world and going to all these promotions. So again, also politically, is he in a spot where he can lose even just his outside work? He's winning all these other belts and being featured in other promotions outside AEW. Is he in a spot where he can afford to lose?
Well, we've seen Mercedes in the right time at the right place in the midst of her belt collector gimmick take losses in selective, matches, and it still didn't hurt her. You know what I mean? So there is obviously the argument that it's like, if he were to come to New Japan and if he, if Andrade were to lose to anybody, it would be to the world champion in a main event spot in an arena. Mm-hmm. So there is that, but I kind of think he's beating Tsuji. And then for me, and I think that kind of makes sense, but I'm also like, if that's the case, why did we do the double? This is the same issue that we talked about arising when
Naito.
all of this kicked off, which is like, you don't want to put the secondary title on the world champion and have them defend them separately, because he's going to have to drop one of those. And it just creates so many storytelling plot holes and, you know, shortcomings. It's not good. He should have just vacated the white title, is what should have happened at that press conference.
Yeah, and then Gabe versus Andrade could have been for the title, and then you could have had Andrade defend against somebody else here.
You could have had Andrade defending the white belt against somebody, and Tsuji defending the IWGP World Heavyweight title in the main event against somebody else, and hopefully some big enough names that it would make sense and draw. And
yeah, you could have done like Andrade versus Sabre, Goto versus Tsuji, and like you get a much stronger card there.
Because here's the issues with all of this. Tsuji is supposed to be this defender of the company, this rallying force, the guy that's bringing everything back, brought back the V4. But him and Jake Lee kind of shit the bed. And then now he might turn around and drop the white belt against an outsider. And honestly, like, we haven't gotten to it, but like, I know it's just kind of funny. Haha. They got him doing the a Philip Marlowe Jr. gimmick during Fantastica Mania, but like, he's the world champion and it's kind of like a comedy thing. And I'm like, why? I don't know, man. When Tanahashi and Okada were the world champion working Fantastica Manias, like they were carrying that fucking belt out there with them and like looking like the tip top star, working with like Mystico and shit like that. Like, why? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think right now he's getting the presentation of a top guy. And I'm worried where I'm like, all right, well then what's going to happen next? Because New Japan Cup's around the corner. He might be dropping that title, you know, the world title too.
Yeah. And who knows if any of the comments he made about Bushi Road, if that got him some heat and some hot water, and they're like, yeah, we need to teach this guy a lesson. Let's, you know, get all these belts off of him real quick.
One last thing is, like, if he does lose to Andrade, which I'm honestly, I hope he doesn't, because but I'm torn because he's going to have to drop the title at some point anyways.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of still ask yourself, like, well, when do you want it to happen? You know, later or now? Either way, it's bad.
Yeah, unless I guess he drops the heavyweight title and kind of keeps the global and kind of rides that later throughout the rest of the year.
I guess you could also do that. And I feel like something you pointed at, the fact that New Japan Cup is around the corner, you can kind of like just move on from this and, you know, kind of, because there isn't going to be a clamor for an immediate rematch because there's other stuff going on in the calendar. You might be onto something with that. But then what could easily happen is he could potentially drop the world title either to the New Japan Cup winner or maybe in May at like Dontaku, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then now eventually him and Andrade come back and it's the former double champion Tsuji chasing AEW superstar white belt global holder, you know, Andrade, this beltless guy who had a failed title run, and he's not the, you know, established savior that everybody thought he was going to be, you know, and honestly, the company needs him to be that guy. And I don't feel like right now he needs to beat Andrade, but I don't believe he's going to beat Andrade because I don't believe that Tony Khan's going to let him.
Yeah, I just feel like there's so much out there to not have Tsuji win. Like everything kind of stacked against him right now, politically and just kind of what where they're going. Yeah, I have a heart. Like if I was the betting man, I had to put money on this, I would be putting money on Andrade winning.
It would be a different story if him and Jake Lee had fucking knocked it out of the park. And if I felt very confident that they were that they're presenting, because bro, Tsuji kind of got his ass handed to him that entire feud.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, he won the match definitively and clean, but like already this Jake Lee guy is making himself look like such a clown that it's devaluing the win that Tsuji had. And the match wasn't good, where I'm like, fuck, bro, like we are not off to a good start anymore. Like things have switched up very, very quickly. And now I don't think he's not in a place where he can afford to take the Andrade loss. Whereas if he was on fire, and then he lost to Andrade here while he's like, up, then there's some argument for like, well, there's some good stories that you could tell out of that. And there's anticipation for the rematch. And if the tickets had sold really, really well, then like, we're cooking with gas, but like the tickets haven't sold that well and he's not really the hottest. And I just have reservations about how all of this, and then the politics of it all. The AEW shit always kind of fucks this stuff up a little bit. So I'm just like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, this is hard. Because, you look outside the match. Like, I think the match could be very good. But, what does it mean going forward? And, this could damage Tsuji. He's already kind of on a downswing a little bit from that Jake Lee match. And, loss here on a bigger, global stage could just hurt what, Western fans think about him and maybe even some of the domestic fans, especially with him, like you mentioned, him posting to be the rah-rah, taking Gabe Kidd's spot of being, the Shinihon defender, and, he hates AEW and he wants to be all these AEW guys. Well, it's not a good look for him to lose to Andrade. But at the same time, Andrade is this kind of special attraction. It seems like he's going to be doing maybe some more New Japan dates. He is technically still a part of United Empire. Are we going to see him back, for Dontaku, Dominion?
Nope.
Is he going to do G1?
Dominion. He could work the G1. I know I've heard rumors that people think that he's slotted to do that. I'm telling you, even though those rumors are out there, my gut tells me no, he's not doing that. I think that you might see him work the big shows, which is like maybe he works Dominion and like the Dome, like I think he's on that status, like the Jericho sort of deal back in the day. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing where it's like, you put this white title on him, you are going to just go back to the well with what we've seen so many times in the past, where a Western guy or an AEW guy gets one of these singles titles and they abscond with the belt, like they're Mox or Kenny Omega or Chris Jericho. And we just don't fucking see the shit for months on end. And it just also diminishes that's one thing that has happened. I know that people have been critical when that has taken place, but for the amount of times it's happened, I think we have enough evidence now to say that every single time that one of those guys won those belts and went back to America and either like just sat on it or barely defended it, it diminished the value of the belts long term.
Yeah.
Mox's IWGP title reign like hurt that title. Jericho holding the white belt, this is to a lesser degree, but that hurt the white belt. It stopped being as big as it had been like under Naito and Nakamura. And, Kenny taking the red belt and then coming back and dropping it. It wasn't very long after that. They just like smashed that thing to smithereens and it stopped existing.
Yeah.
Like the titles, when they're out of sight, out of mind, they just stop holding value. Look at the strong belt, the same thing right now. We're talking about how it doesn't mean anything. A couple, years ago, that was a cool title with some big names on it.
Yeah. We'll see what happens here. We had a question from Ginger and Fringer. It says, if Andrade does end up winning the global title, who would you like to see challenge him for it? Could you see him defending it on AEW TV like Moxley did with the world title?
Yeah, but all the title defenses of New Japan belts in AEW have sucked, honestly. And they usually suck when it happens in CMLL too. Like it's like, I don't know. They just aren't used in like really good spotlight, like big matches.
Yeah, or it's against, people who are not top, quality chat. Like, when Moxley defending against Hobbs, which I like Hobbs, but Hobbs should not have been challenging for the IWGP title.
No, not at that point. It didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah. And so I don't want to see Andrade, defending against, trying to think of a random, Luchasaurus or whatever, or, somebody random on the roster. Like it should be, built up programs against New Japan guys.
Brian Cage.
Yeah, Brian Cage, Mark Davis, any
Mark Davis fucking killing it.
Yeah, I did. It'd be a Raw match, but I'm like, how does that help anything in New Japan?
I don't think having the title in these other companies helps New Japan at all.
Right.
Even if the matches are good, it just we have enough like evidence to show that like the idea of exposure hasn't amounted to anything. There was a time where I think even myself included thought like, oh, the idea of getting some of these titles in front of other audiences and expanding the exposure kind of gets the name out there, maybe attracts some people to watch the shows. But like, it's pretty much been proven that that's not real. That hasn't worked out in the favor of New Japan domestically whatsoever. And the domestic audience isn't following these outside companies either. So it's just meaningless, This is to a lesser degree, but like, look, the strong titles got defended like for half the year in Mexico, the strong tag team titles. And like, no one watched those matches or cared or even really kind of realized or knew it was happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I almost forgot that the Chavez brothers were the tag team champions.
Mm-hmm. And the difference here is like, CMLL, right? They can have their titles go over to AEW or like AAA did in the past. And because the titles don't mean that much, they can actually be used as like, I don't want to say a prop, but they can be used as a storytelling device in AEW to further and advance and elevate their feuds and storylines. But in New Japan, the titles do matter in a kayfabe to varying degrees, but they matter. And so if they're not going to be used in the way that they are aligned in Japan, then they stop having as much, impact. Whereas like those Mexican titles, they hardly get defended. Like it doesn't matter how they get
like,
used.
Claudio with the CMLL world title. It's like, yeah, that's not really the top belt in CMLL right now, but Western
it never
fans,
has been.
Yeah. Western fans hear world title and they see Claudio with it and they're doing the presentation on first title offenses. It seems like a bigger deal.
And because AEW is often using those titles in a way that, number one, there is more crossover between Lucha Libre and Western, television fans. Like the people in Mexico are very keenly aware of what's going on in AEW. They're watching the show, and the titles are being presented in some cases on a more established brand from a worldwide standpoint and being treated as a bigger milestone. It actually does help the value of those belts over there,
Mm-hmm.
But the same can't be said for, the IWGP titles being used stateside. Like they never get that same sort of billing or treatment or credibility. So it's totally different.
Yeah. Next question here from Jeff Franklin 720. With the success of the U.S. show seemingly doing well attendance-wise, do you think it's a positive on New Japan's structure of cutting U.S. shows to a minimum?
Well, now that you mentioned that they've sold as many tickets as they have, that's great. But I mean, I don't know. When I looked at the tickets, they weren't that pricey. They were like, which is good. You don't want to be like WWE and like price gouge and have a unbearable like barrier of entrance for people. But I do wonder, it's like, okay, they got like how many, like you said, 2,500 tickets sold.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping they sold all those. I don't know like what the actual situation is with comps and, shit like that. But let's just say they got like 2,500 and they're probably selling them for like an average of like $45, I'm guessing.
Probably, yeah. Let's see.
So 2,500 times like 45.
Yeah, the cheapest available tickets, $32.
Yeah. So, like 100, a 100,000 plus gate. That's good. Pretty like, making money. I don't know how much it costs to like put on the show and rent the building and fly everybody into town and, pay off a guy like Andrade. I don't know what the actual business of it is, but it's hypothetically, it's a good they might be making some good money from the show, which is good.
Yeah. But I mean, even still, we've seen them in recent years do bigger houses in the right buildings, in the right cities with the right build. And yeah, 2,500, like in a modern day, like a pretty good for a company that's not WWE or AEW. Putting 2,500 in U.S. buildings, not bad. But we've seen them, in Chicago, do 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 people with, the right building, right card, right audience, right appeal. And so I guess, yeah, it's a quote-unquote success because they're selling a lot of tickets, but you would want to see them get into a building and fill it and not have to taper off anything.
Yeah, I agree. I think some of the things they could have done differently here, and I think they could have promoted this better. They should have been in a easier to attend market, something that's a little more populous that people can easily attend. I think that they have the right level of talent, but the way the card is structured and laid out does not make a lot of sense. They're not getting the maximum out of who they have booked on the card. And they didn't need to bring over a ton more New Japan guys, but I think one or two more, status names would have made a huge difference here.
Yeah.
And those
a Goto, a Saber, a Shingo, one of those guys would have been very well used on a card like this.
Yeah, like let's say they bring over one of those guys and one established young guy that is up and coming, like you said, like a Uemura or something like that. And I think or even like,
Shooter.
Shota Umino or whatever. And it's a different story. But the way they're using the talent they have is fucking perplexing. And that's why I'm like, people are looking at the card, they're like, oh, it looks really good. And I'm like, with the level of talent they have in the show, you'd have to be an idiot to not have a good show. But they could be having a much, much better show than what they are. And the fact that it's pay-per-view, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see, man. We'll see. I hate to be like a negative Nelly because we've been so positive about so much that's been going on with New Japan that I don't want them to lose this momentum. But I just, you always have that thing where it's like the best matches are the kind where you don't know what the outcome is going to be because you could see it going either way. This is like the inverse of that, where it's like, I don't know who's going to win. And either way it goes, I could see some very negative ramifications. And I'm nervous about that.
Yeah.
Where it's like they booked themselves into a corner, and you don't want good, wise, smart bookers to book themselves as sexy as the match is on paper. You don't want to be booked to have booked yourself into a corner.
Yeah. There's so much more that they could have done. Yeah. Especially with Tsuji and Andrade. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they do that match. And if Tsuji does win, will it be definitive or will it be some kind of banana peel? He got lucky and beat Andrade, by chance.
The toughest part about all of this, man, is like Tsuji really can't and shouldn't be losing in this position. But I don't think he should be beating Andrade right now, like politically. And they're going to have to get that white belt off of him at some point. If they're going to do it, they might as well just fucking do it now.
Yeah. And it's his first big main event in the U.S. and, being the poster child for New Japan. Like, yeah, I feel like it's just everything about it's just not the right time for this match.
It's bad timing. It's the wrong time for that matchup. That matchup is awesome, but it's the wrong time for it. And the fallout, other people probably don't care. Like we're so invested, we care, but it's like, I
think a lot of people will be happy if Andrade wins.
I'm sure a lot of people will be happy, but it's going to be honestly, it's going to be mostly like a tribalistic thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because how does that help New Japan?
It doesn't.
Right. And I don't think a lot of New Japan fans are going to be happy. The ones who will be happy will be the ones who are like, fuck yeah, Andrade's the white belt champion. Now we get to see him in New Japan. And little do they know, this man's not coming back except for like once or twice a year for the whole entire fucking year.
Yeah, I feel like had things been different, which maybe New Japan thought they would have been, like if his ban was still like he couldn't wrestle in the United States and that man needed dates, like, yeah, maybe the plan, because, originally, like, there was no AEW logo. He was brought in as United Empire. Maybe the plan was, hey, yeah, we are going to have this guy for more dates this year. But then everything got cleared up, and then he's back in AEW, and it's like, oh, well, we still want to use him, but how often are we going to get to use him now? And with all that changing, it's like, yeah, I don't expect to see him, like, especially so we got New Japan Cups coming up. He's not going to be in that. He probably won't be at Sakura Genesis. It would probably, like you said, it's going to be probably Dominion before we see him, and then after that, maybe King of Pro Wrestling, and then the Dome.
Part of me kind of wonders, and I'm just being conspiratorial here and speculating, but it's like, why couldn't they have pivoted and just decided to do what we said, which is like, have this man vacate the white belt, put it up for the top contenders that wanted to contend for it, and let it exist on its own? Part of me feels like maybe there was the promise made either to Andrade when he first signed, like, you're going to go over this guy, you're going to win this belt, you're going to get this run, or maybe, and this might not even be separate, it could also be in conjunction with that, but maybe it's like, okay, Takeshita loses to Tsuji, but Tsuji's going to turn around and in New Jersey, he's going to put over Andrade for you guys. And that's the make good.
Yeah.
And they can't pivot away from it. They can't undo it because it's quid pro quo and they got to do it. And it's the wrong time for their business to have something like this happen. I guess, and this is where we'll lay it to rest. Here's the bet. If he is losing the title, we already laid out the negatives of what will inevitably happen. Like, Andrade will take the belt and he'll be gone with it for a while, period. There's no getting around that. Best case scenario, the match is so good. It's like just a feather in the cap to both guys. It gets both guys over and Andrade wins. And it looked like either guy could have, potentially fucking won. And then, like you said, Takeshita comes back, or Tsuji comes back, and he's kind of shielded by the New Japan Cup taking place, and it gives enough buffer for him to get ready for this other feud while people kind of forget that I think that might be what the bookers are like hoping to happen here. Is like, we haven't dropped the title. It's over in America. It's on a pay-per-view. Domestic audience isn't watching quite so much. It's not as big a deal in our country.
Yeah.
And then we can maybe hopefully heat the sky back up over here domestically when, come Sakura Genesis in April.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to forget.
Yeah. So that is New Beginning USA. Let's jump into Fantastica Mania. And we had a question here from MJ. He said, what are some of the similarities and differences in match construction between your typical Puro match and Lucha Libre?
How the fuck would I know?
Matt's showing you some Lucha, right? And some Puro.
Yeah, we worked very Lucha Rezu style. Everything Matt does is Dragon Gate.
Yeah.
But in terms of, like, honestly, I've only had a handful of matches and practice matches, and I wasn't laying them out. And a lot of what I was doing is very basic Western style matches. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very basic structure. And what was the question? It was, what's the difference between how a typical Japanese
similarities and differences in match construction between typical Puro and Lucha Libre?
I mean, there's a world of differences, and it also kind of depends on what are you talking about in terms of, are we talking a singles match? Are we talking a tag match?
Right. I was going to say,
very different.
There's a lot of Lucha rules, which are actually starting to get changed now. But your traditional Lucha, you have a lightning match. You have a 2 out of 3 falls. You used to have the captain's fall 6-man matches. And so there's a lot of different, and we've seen, like, especially those 2 out of 3 falls, you have that match structure where it's like, boom, quick submission, first fall, and then on the baby face. Heel then the baby face comes back, wins the second fall, and then you get this epic, last fall kind of match. And normally 2 out of 3 falls is usually promoted as kind of a special stip where in CMLL that's something that happened. Well, used to happen all the time before some of these changes have been happening.
Honestly, and I hate to say this, but it's just the truth. There's so much variability to the question that you're asking that that question needs to be a little bit more specific, because there are so many different answers to that question, even in the context of Japanese wrestling. When you say like a typical Puroresu style match, like New Japan's house style is in a lot of ways very different from what everybody else in, Puroresu is doing. The junior matches in New Japan are very different from the heavyweight matches. The standard singles matches are very different from the world title matches and the multi-man match. Everything is, it's just very different. And you're not asking about the moves and the style of work. You're asking about the layout and structure of the match. And that's a whole different level and layer. And then same thing with Lucha, depending on the arena, depending on the type of match. I mean, a Maestro match, that Yave special, is very, very different from, a blood feud mask versus mask match, or, the classic, sporting style championship match. They're just all so very different, man. I think it's too open-ended a question to really answer that, honestly.
Yeah. I think there is some, as far as like similarities. I mean, Shine, Heat Comeback, I think is a formula that's kind of in your most basic match is kind of used in both.
Those are universal things that will just always exist in all of professional wrestling as a storytelling device. Unless you're talking about like Fighting Network rings and like pure shoot style.
Yeah. So we had the first Fantastica Mania show last Wednesday, February 18th from Yoyogi National Gymnasium number 2. Had a attendance of 2,022.
No, they didn't. No, they did not. I swear, like, I know New Japan is like pretty well known for like being pretty up and up in most cases for their attendance, but like they did not sell out 2,000 plus in Yoyogi. There's no fucking way. They had the entire top tarped off, and they didn't even have the floor sold out. They did not have 2,000 sold.
I'm just saying what they said.
Well, it's a lie. We need
we don't have the turnstile count.
It's Will Smith. Tell the truth. Fucking lie, dude.
So it opened up. We had the Fantastica Mania tournament. So in the past, this has been like the brothers tournament. Then it was the family, relative tournament, and now they just got to the point where like we're just doing a tournament just because we always need to do a tag team tournament.
But remember the other year they did the Rievlos and Crebielles or whatever.
Yeah.
It was like we still can't pronounce it, but it's like the odd bedfellows tournament with the bad guys and the good guys, and now they're just like, oh fuck it, it's the annual Fantastica Mania tag tournament. We do it every year.
Yeah. So first round we had Los Vijeros del Espacio, Futuro, and Valiente Jr. They defeated Hijo de Stuka Jr. and Sho Makato. So this is Sho Makato's last tour before heading off to CMLL.
I thought Sho Makato made it very abundantly clear in this match that he has a lot to learn when it comes to working
Yes.
the lucha style.
Yeah, he looked pretty lost some points there.
Yeah, this is the most incompetent I've seen this man look in a long time. Like he was botching a little bit. He had some trouble there.
Some stutter step.
I liked when Stuka, El Hijo de Stuka Jr. at the beginning of the match called that man over. He's like, come here. And he like stood in front of the camera and did his fucking pose. And he's aware that it's time. Like we got to take pictures for the magazines, but like Sho Makato didn't even think about that. He had no clue like what the fuck was going on.
Yeah, but he's having fun though. He looks so happy in these matches.
Yeah, he's stoked and he's excited to go to Mexico. I was blown away at two things in this match, and one, I didn't realize it was El Hijo Day Stuka Jr.?
Oh, yeah, it was just Stuka Jr.
I was like, what? Because I could have sworn Walker kept calling him Stuka Jr. And I was like, this man's Stuka Jr., man. He grew.
He turned the clock back.
He turned the clock back, bro. Like, oh my God. It's like did you ever see The Substance? No, you wouldn't like The Substance, but like, it was like The Substance. I was like, man, this guy took the green serum and he's fucking fixed. It's crazy. And then I realized it's the son of Stuka Jr. And I was like, oh, okay, it's different. And then one of these guys, who were the Rudos in the match?
Futuro and Valiente Jr.
Valiente Jr.'s mask looks like Templario's mask, and so I thought it was Templario at first, and I was like, damn, Templario's curtain jerking tonight. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. But they're a pretty good team, Futuro and Valiente Jr. I was pretty impressed with them.
Yeah. I was very impressed with them, and I think on the next night they really shined as well. So they've kind of been like the early standouts in this tournament.
Yeah, and so Futuro hit a Falcon Arrow and a springboard moonsault on Chomakato to get the win.
Bro, there was one move in this match from the top rope. I don't even know what to call it, and like this is no shade on like Walker. He was solo. He's doing his best. It's only his second Fantastica Mania, but it's like there's no way he's going to know a lot of the names of these moves. And I was like, I need to know what the fuck that move was called. I have no clue. Valiente did something where it was like, it almost looks like he was putting himself in a tombstone position and kept turning from the top rope and then brought the guy down. It was incredible, whatever it was.
Yeah, it was awesome.
But yeah.
Question from MJ says, more of a comment than a question, but I don't think I've seen Chomakato this happy and in his element despite his lack of experience in lucha. Just seems to genuinely be enjoying himself out there. What do you think suits him better, Rudo or Technico?
My honest answer, too early to tell. I mean, if you're just going to base it off of his general demeanor right now, like, face, but
yeah,
this stuff can all be developed. Like, they don't show enough. I personally don't think these guys generally show enough personality this early on to clearly determine who they really where they're better suited. I mean, the knee-jerk reaction would be babyface, but I'm not sold on that. I think once he goes to Mexico and he learns how to work Rudo, which he definitely will, we'll see what shakes out there. Maybe he's going to come back and maybe he'll be a badass. But
yeah, I think he could be utilized either way. But yeah, kind of understand, like right now, yeah, it seems like maybe he starts Technico and does a big turn later on. So yeah.
Well, he's gonna almost all these guys work Rudo when they first get there, period. And they work almost quasi racist gimmicks over there. So we'll see what happens and how they present him. Maybe you're right. Maybe they'll see his big, pearly whites and be like, oh, this guy's going to he's a baby face. So who knows?
Then after that, we had Hechicero defeating Zane J in 10 minutes, 3 seconds. So Zane J came out, told him to cut the music. Tired of coming out to that whack Young Lion music. He's like, I'm not a Young Lion anymore.
He said, I'm not no Young Lion anymore. And I was, all right, bro.
He's like, I'm graduated. I'm United Empire. So he was looking for a big singles win over Don Callis' family member here, Hechicero. But it did not work out here for Zane J.
This was cool. Zane J, a guy that's very athletic and, worked a lot of the dojo style of mat grappling sort of work. And obviously, Hechicero is a maestro and, the king of Yave has been for many years now. And you kind of got to see this like meshing of the two styles, but I don't think it was a perfect melding. A lot of that does have to do with Zane J being pretty green. For what it was, I think Hechicero gave him a lot, and it did get pretty exciting down the stretch. Zane J got to hit some athletic stuff, and I think he did a tope at one point, some drop kicks, and that stuff was really cool. I loved the finisher. Hechicero put him in that really cool armbar.
Where he jumps up. Yeah.
That was really, really, really cool. But the match was I think it's one of those like kind of footnotes. If Zane continues to progress and get utilized in the company and elevates, this will be one of those like kind of interesting matches you'll look back on once upon a time. Like when he was a Green Boy, he had this kind of interesting 10-minute, competitive match with Hechicero on a Fantastica Mania.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something there of him, and I think he's starting to come into his own with this heel turn. And he also went during the match. I was like, "Yeah, this young lion is good." And he was getting pissed off that he's getting called a young lion. I like what they're doing with Zane J.
Yeah.
Then we had another first round match in the tag team tournament. Arverno and Magnus defeated Stigma and Tiger Mask, and we saw Magnus kind of donning a black tiger style mask and kind of been carrying that persona throughout the tour.
Yeah, I've seen some people kind of speculate, like, is he a kayfabe black tiger? Is he in the lineage just because he has donned the persona and mask? And I don't know what the answer to that is, because I'm not even that truly steeped in the long, lengthy lore of black tigers.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the ring announcers have still been calling him Magnus the whole tour. It's not like he changed his name or changed gimmick. So he does have a singles match coming up with Tiger Mask on this tour. So I think this was all to build to that. This is Tiger Mask's retirement year, kind of a throwback to a Tiger Mask style rival. I don't think that he's becoming a black tiger.
So in your opinion, this is just basically a cosplay?
Yeah, I think it's a tour storyline. We used to get Kojima, Ultimo Guerrero kind of rivalry storyline. I think this is like a Tiger Mask rivalry storyline for this tour, and that's it.
So this is like when like Mercedes Moné like dresses up like Eddie Guerrero, like it's like she's not actually Eddie Guerrero at that point, right?
Right.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
But he is donning so much of the persona where it is like, is he a spiritual successor to the Black Tiger mantle? I don't know. I wonder. We'll see. Mm-hmm. But you're probably right. It's probably just a self-contained story for the purpose of this tour. And it is funny that they're like trying to give a little teensy tiny morsel of something meaningful to Tiger Mask in these, just shoehorn a little something in there these last few months during his retirement run, which it basically has been nothing. And the match itself was, 7 minutes. It was fine. There was a lot of mask pulling. It was whatever.
Yeah, low blow, ripped the mask off. So Magnus stole the win there.
Well, the question I had was Stigma. He also had the white fur around his mask. Is that how was that an homage to Tiger Mask, or does he always have the feline features? I couldn't tell.
I think that was just because he was teaming with Tiger Mask. But
then you notice that Tiger Mask wore the white fur, and I wasn't sure if that was because he was trying to keep with the red, white, and green of the Mexican flag, or if he was donning the white to match what Stigma usually wears. So I wasn't sure who was acquiescing to who and or whatever. I don't know, because I don't know Stigma enough to know.
Yeah. And a question from Muzza. He says, what's your take? We'll kind of answer this on Magnus seemingly unofficially becoming the next Black Tiger Mask, going off what we've seen in the tour so far.
I would like someone to weigh in on the kayfabe of this from the IWGP committee to really make it clear to us. They felt the need to go out of their way to tell us that everybody for the past 4 years that held the world title was actually an IC champion the whole time. So I would like them to also bring that level of clarity to the lore of the Black Tiger Mask, and is in fact Magnus in that lineage with Takaiwa and Ishii and Eddie Guerrero. Is he one of them or no? It needs to be established.
So after that, another first round match, we had Atlantis and Atlantis Jr. They defeat the Cozy Max team of Okamura and Satoshi Kojima.
With Mima Shimoda, 6 minutes and 40 seconds, the oldest match you ever fucking seen, but it wasn't bad whatsoever. It is just, you got Atlantis out there, and it is surprising that he is still going. He looks in great shape for a man his age, but he also can't fucking move.
Bro, his cross bodies are freaking hilarious.
They are. Like, they recently had that old man match in CMLL that got a lot of praise with who was in that Blue Panther.
Blue Panther, yeah.
And who did he wrestle?
Who, the Blue Panther wrestler?
Yeah, someone old too. They had a really old man match.
I forget now.
It doesn't matter. Probably, I don't know. Probably Viano or some shit. But yeah, Atlantis is not able to move like those guys like anymore. But he's out there doing the father-son team. It's obviously they probably thought this was the family tournament, and that's why he showed up. No one clued them in that like Atlantis could have probably just picked up any tag team partner that he wanted, so he got saddled with his dad here. But it is nice to see Okamura and Cozy Max they're still like this, MLW never dies. And
well, apparently Okamura turned on that man on MLW.
He did?
Yeah. And joined Contra.
Oh.
But I don't know. I don't fully keep up with the lore of MLW, so I don't know if it's even aired. The turn's aired yet, but there was a turn.
So I think we got our answer about like whether New Japan's going to honor the lore when it comes to Kushida this Saturday night. They don't even honor it right now. We got Contra members, Anyways, yeah, I think they put Atlantis in there with the right guys for a Fantastica Mania tour to kind of like make him look good. And this was not by any means, it could have been so much worse. And it was inoffensive.
Yeah, it's fine little match, and yeah, the Atlantises get the win.
The Atlantises, and Atlantis Junior, doesn't suffer from getting booed out of the building in Japan, so that's good for him.
Yeah,
I don't know, I don't follow enough. That might be a dated reference. I don't know if they're still doing that in Mexico, but they were.
I don't know if it's as often as it is. I think I saw something recently. I think it depends on. It's almost kind of like the Umino situation where, depending on who he's in there with, like, Umino rolled out on KLB, got booed. So I feel like if you put Atlantis Jr. against somebody that's like...
Bro, I think you just stumbled upon a fucking brilliant idea.
What?
Atlantis Jr. and Shota Umino unite, right? And they have this chip on their shoulders, both second generation, both, Nepo babies and rejected by the audience. They have something to fucking prove, and they make it their life's mission to, make a statement, and they feed off of each other's negative energy and hate and find a way to persist together. I think that's where we're headed, really.
I mean, I wouldn't mind some more Atlantis Junior dates in New Japan.
That's where they need to go. Well, no, I'm not even talking about just New Japan. Like,
just in general, it's to get
worldwide. Get that man Shota Umino off my screen.
Send him down to Mexico.
Send him down there so we could be on Televisa or whatever the fuck it is that they air on, and let this man run wild. It did wonders for Naito.
It did, yeah. So following that, we had the Unbound Company team of Bone Soldier Jr., Daiki Nagai, Philip Marlowe Jr., and Teton, defeating Desperado, Masatori Asuda, Wato, and Taguchi.
Some of these guys were pretty serious. But you got Taguchi, and he's really trying to ha-ha it all up like he does every year during Fantastica Mania, which is fine, but it's like that shit should be happening much lower on the card. This kind of just screamed, we don't really give a fuck about this Yoyogi Tokyo, crowd, because, even though we said we sold 2,000, we didn't actually sell 2,000, and this is kind of a house show sort of situation. But down the tail stretch, some of the guys, especially with Unbound Company and everything, they got more serious, and it got it became a more fun and competitive match down the stretch. Magnus took even though there was some funny not Magnus, Teton, he took this nasty bump to the outside where he landed on his tailbone. I'm like, brother, like, this is a comedy.
Right, this is a multi-man, brother. Chill out.
And I didn't love. I really am very critical of the idea of having Tsuji work this Philip Marlowe Jr. gimmick. It is funny for just the tour, and I know it's Fantastica Mania, and it's kind of non-kayfabe, and it is funny he's got the fedora built into the mask. But he's the fucking world champion, bro. If you're the fucking double gold world champion, you can do some lucha haha. You can put on some paint on your face. You can wear a mask and take it off. But you need to be walking out looking like $1 million and the top star in the company, and that you are just above everybody else in that match. And they're not doing that right now. And I'm just like, what are we doing?
I think it's fine for Ishimori. You know, he wants to be Bone Soldier Jr. That's fine. But yeah, the IWGP Heavyweight Champion should be coming out with the belt, looking like the top guy, not, you know, having funny haha.
Yeah, I know it's Fantastica Mania, but like, he's the top guy. He needs to look like the fucking top guy at all times. And he doesn't look like the top guy right now in these comedy matches.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, we found out that like officially Teton is now Unbound Company.
Yeah, they gave that man that white, word art logo shirt. And he's now officially part of Unbound Company. And he got the win here, hit the double stomp on Yasuda to win it for the team.
He says he's taking it to Mexico.
Yeah, Unbound Company de Japón or de Mexico.
I don't know. De Mexico? I don't know. But it is funny because it's like Los Ingobernables, and then they adopted it, became de Japón, but now it's coming full circle. Unbound Company de Mexico.
Yeah.
You know?
El Unbound Company.
Yeah, El Unbound. Shit.
Then semi-main event, there was a lightning match, a 10-minute time limit match with Soberano Jr. and Templario, and then went to a 10-minute time limit draw.
Easily the match of the night. So far, we're only 2 nights in, probably the second best match of the entirety of the tour. And this was a sprint. 2 guys that basically were like, okay, we got 10 minutes. Nobody's going over. We want to shine. So like, let's just lay out and do everything that we know how to do in a 10-minute time limit. And so they just really went balls to the wall. I've seen some people be critical because they think it was a little bit too, choreographed and, not quite as, competitive spirit that you want to see, especially from like, in Japan. But it is what it is. These guys got 10 minutes and they were like, we're going to ball. And that's what they did.
Yeah, they did some incredible stuff in this match. Like when these 2 guys came out, like, oh yeah, these are 2 top guys. It's gonna be a really good match. And then once you start getting the time calls, like, all right, yeah, it's probably going to a draw, but still, they were out there killing it up to the last second. I mean, Soberano hit that big Fosbury flop to the outside, and then they're exchanging punches until we get to the 10-minute call. So yeah, they packed a lot in this 10 minutes. Then after that, we had the main event, the last first round match in the tag team tournament. El Sky Team, the Wrestler of the Year, Mascara Dorada, and Mystico defeating Sho and Ultimo Guerrero.
You made it sound like Mascara Dorada was the Wrestler of the Year.
No, Mystico.
Yeah, and they this was fine. Honestly, I don't think personally, I think I didn't need to have such a lengthy main event involving Sho. But they still kind of like, Sky Team's really fantastic. Ultimo Guerrero is great at what he does. They kind of let Sho do some of, I saw this online and I really loved it. So I'm going to start using it. It's not my original thought, but like I saw someone call it the House of Torture Slop. So they let him do a little of the House of Torture Slopism, not too much, but a little bit. And that kind of worked into things. But, this was a fine, you know what it really was? It was the type of main event tag team match that they do in Mexico when it's the middle of the week on a smaller town and it's not on TV, so there's more playing to the crowd. There's more entertainment, and it's not something that is intended to wow the audience. It's a lot more entertainment based and, playing up to the crowd. And that's what a lot of this was. And how long was it? Like 26 minutes?
It was 16 minutes, 40 seconds.
Oh, okay. 16 minutes. My bad. Yeah. I honestly, I just think it could have gone a little shorter. I think it could have been a little tighter, but it was fine. They wanted the authentic Lucha Libre experience. And I think some people probably meant like the Arena Mexico Friday night experience. That's not what they got here. They got like
Pueblo.
The Pueblo Wednesday afternoon experience, and it's authentic, but it's authentic as shit. So
hey, Ultimo Guerrero wore the mask the whole match. Not more authentic than that.
That's actually super inauthentic because the Lucha Libre, Mexican Boxing and Wrestling Council, he's outlawed. He's not allowed to do that. It's illegal.
He's probably gonna get a nice fine when he gets back.
He's gonna get a fine, bro. Well,
I was waiting for him to pull. He does it every year. He wears the mask. He wrestles 2 minutes and he pulls it off. But then here he just wore it the whole match.
Have you considered that maybe that wasn't fucking Ultimo Guerrero?
He was late. He was late for the tour, and they just threw somebody else on there.
They put someone else out there. They're like, yeah, he's got the same body type. They put Stuka Jr. They put Gran Guerrero out there. Can't take the mask off, brother.
Oh man! So I think this is the next night. So this was Sunday at ATC Hall. 931 reported attendance here. So we had Hijo Stuka Jr. and Chomakato defeating Tetsuya Morishima and Tiger Mask.
Matsumoto.
Yeah, Tetsuya Matsumoto in Tiger Mask.
Kind of a fun little Lucha Libre opener with young lions who can't really do Lucha Libre.
Yeah, I think, it's more about kind of the continued Kato, Matsumoto rivalry and, getting Kato some more reps in here with these CMLL guys.
Yeah.
Then after that, we had Sho, Kanemaru, and Yujiro, the House of Torture Slop. They defeated Cozy Max and Ultimo Guerrero when the horrible, worst booking call of the year, Yujiro pinning Kojima, happened. Ridiculous.
Now, this was pure House of Torture Slop and not at all what you would expect to see on a Lucha Libre show. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mother saying Huge U's getting a pinfall victory over Satoshi Kojima. Is Gato trolling Jeremy? Yes, he is.
I don't think he was thinking of Jeremy when he booked this, honestly.
Next matchup, Philip Marlowe Jr. and Bone Soldier Jr., Daiki Nagai, Shingo, and Teton. They defeat Desperado, Yasuda, and Wato and Taguchi and Stigma.
Yeah, a lot of this undercard stuff is sort of just like the first night, even though it wasn't like the most outstanding night, there was a lot of kind of like we're establishing the stories for this little tournament and for this tour as a whole, and we're going to pay them off later on. But this second night was, especially for the undercard stuff, it's just like we're throwing people together. There's no rhyme or reason.
Yeah,
stuff is just happening.
Just fun, just stuff happening. Yeah. Then after that, we had a lightning three-way match with Hechicero, Soberano, and Templario. We got another 10-minute time limit draw.
This wasn't as good as the other lightning match from the night prior. And, luchadors are not necessarily renowned for having a lot of meaningful three-way matches by and large, because it's just not something that happens very often. So it's not like a match structure that they're overwhelmingly versed at. But I thought that these guys, I thought they did a good job kind of just, again, going balls to the wall and packing in as much as they could and sprinting for 10 minutes.
Yeah, and I don't feel like I've really seen a lot of three-way matches, singles matches in Lucha, but I thought they did it.
There's a really famous one from like 1990 or 1993. El Dandy's in it and somebody else, and I'd have to look it up. It's like one of the greatest luchador matches, but it's the only one offhand that I could think of that's like really notable.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a fun match, and yeah, again, they kind of packed as much as they could in that 10 minutes. And then we got the semi-main event, which was a semifinal match in the tournament. We had the kind of an upset alert here with Averno and Magnus defeating Atlantis and Atlantis Jr.
Okay, so I have that match just so everybody, if you've never seen this match, and I'm talking about like, this isn't like a casual recommendation. I'm talking about like, this is one of the greatest Lucha Libre matches ever that has ever occurred. And if you've never seen it, it's available on YouTube. You should go out of your way and see it. Easy access. El Dandy versus El Hijo del Santo versus Negro Casas from December 16th, 1996. Hair versus mask 3-way match. If you've never seen it, it's easily the greatest 3-way, triangle, whatever you want to call, like lucha libre match, period. Go out of your way and watch that shit. Seriously. But Verno and Magnus, they defeated Atlantis and Atlantis Jr. And I thought that, I don't know. I thought Verno and Magnus were like the standouts here, honestly.
Yeah, I think that they were working super hard and getting a lot of heat for the match. And then, Verno did like this super, like face front suplex thing to Atlantis Jr. and pinned him. So, kind of an upset there. And post match, he challenged Atlantis Jr. for his title on the Corkin show this week.
Which, like, there's so many champions in CMLL, and a lot of these guys brought over their belts. I don't know what that one, I forget who is the champion, but one of these guys, I think it was Futuro, he's got that white belt that just says like CMLL on it, and it's got a bunch of stars. And I'm like, it looks like a Stardom belt. Like, what the fuck's going on there? But yeah.
And then
also, one weird thing that I just want to point this out, Walker, he's doing a fantastic job single on the calls. It's not easy for him, I'm sure. But he keeps saying that we want to welcome the luchadors and luchadoras. And I'm like, there's no fucking luchadoras on this tour. Like,
right.
Unless you just count Mima, but she's not wrestling. Like, yeah, I know she takes a bump every time, but like, why you keep saying that?
Main event was El Sky Team, Masquerada and Mystico. They defeated Los Viajeros del Espacio, Futuro, and Valiente Jr. in 16 minutes and 12 seconds.
Best match of the tournament or of the tour so far.
Yeah, best match of the tournament and tour. Yeah, this freaking rocked. These guys are flipping all over the place, and just a lot of the double team stuff that Sky Team was doing just absolutely rocked. And Masquerada, again, really shined. His athleticism, some of the double springboard stuff he did in this match. Yeah, these guys really rocked.
Yeah, I mean, if you were just going to kind of cherry pick for these two shows, the first show, I thought the first show was much more enjoyable than the second show overall, but it's also not anything that you need to go out of your way to watch. The one match that you might want to, if you're like, hey, I want to see something that's pretty great, that 10-minute lightning match. Who was in that? It was Soberano Jr. and Templario. That one's, it's 10 minutes. So it's really not that much of a commitment of your time, and it's worth it to watch it. That being said, it's not must see. This is the only so far must see match of the tour. If there's anything that you're going to sit down and watch, 16 minutes, this tag team match was fantastic. Obviously, we know how good Mystico and Masquerada are, and they're obviously favored to win the tournament. But this match was really about making Valiente Jr. and Futuro shine, and they had their working boots on, and those other guys were motivated to make them look good in front of this crowd, and that's exactly what they did. And this was what you kind of expect from some of the best tag matches in this tournament. I know we always talk about how this tournament isn't necessarily like that meaningful, but there's always a couple really good main events that come out of it, and this is kind of indicative of what that level is. And yeah, they nailed it.
Yeah, you had towards the end, Mystico hitting the big Spanish fly, Dorada hitting the shooting star press to get the win. And then post-match, they really did put over Futuro, and Valiente Jr. had the crowd, cheering for those guys. So, yeah, it was all about getting those guys over in defeat. And yeah, all four guys look great in this. It was a really fun main event. Definitely go out of your way to watch this one.
So Jeremy will probably be catching some of this stuff, but he will not be here next week to discuss any of this. So in the coming up week, we have Fantastica Mania, night 5, Tuesday, 2/24/26. By the time you're listening to this show, this will be occurring. From Edion Arena, Osaka 2, we have Stigma versus Daiki Nagai, Tiger Mask and Satoshi Kojima versus Masatori Yasuda and Hijo de Stuka Jr. Third match of the night, Shomikato's Send-Off Series number 1, where him, Wato, and Okamura take on Kanemaru Sho and Yujiro from House of Torture. Fourth match of the night, Taguchi, El Desperado, Valiente Jr., and Futuro take on the Unbound Company's Bone Soldier Jr., Shingo Takagi, Philip Marlowe Jr., and Titan. And then the semi-main event, Templario, Atlantis Jr., and Atlantis take on Soberano Jr., Hechicero, and Ultimo Guerrero. And then in the main event, the final match of the tag team tournament, Averno and Magnus take on the Sky Team, Mascara Dorada, and Mystico. One thing I would really love, Jeremy, it's just my 2 cents about the tag tournament. They need to bring out a cup, and they need to cut a check.
Yeah.
Every great tag team tournament has a cup and a check, and they don't do that for these guys.
Yeah, definitely should, especially because I think Sky Team's going to win this thing. What better way to get those guys over more?
Yeah, giant check and a gold cup or 2 gold cups, whatever.
Yeah.
Just keep reusing it every year. So then, with that being said, on the 26th, this coming Thursday from Cork and Hall, 6 or 9, and Tatsuya Matsumoto will take on Los Viejos del Espacio. That's Futuro and Valiente Jr. teaming up with Master Yasuda. Second match of the night, Titan versus Sho Makato. Third match of the night, Cozy Max and Tiger Mask take on the House of Tortures, Kanemaru and Yujiro, along with Magnus. Fourth match of the night, Shingo and Ultimo Guerrero. That's a great tag team taking on Unite Empire's Templario and Zane J. Fifth match of the night, Atlantis, Mystico, and Stigma taking on Hijo de Stuka Jr., Sho, and Soberano Jr. Semi-main event, the world historic light heavyweight title is on the line as Averno takes on Atlantis Jr. And then your main event, Hechicero versus Mascara Dorada. And then on February the 27th, this coming Friday, we have the final night of action for this week. Obviously, this is also taking place on the same day as New Beginning USA, but earlier. On that show, we got Averno and Sho Makato in singles action. Yasuda, Wato, Stigma, and Matsumoto taking on the House of Torture Sho, Kanemaru, Yujiro, and they will be teaming with Hijo de Stuka Jr. Third match of the night, Tiger Mask taking on Magnus. Tiger Mask versus Black Tiger.
Yeah.
Fourth match of the night, Atlantis and Atlantis Jr. team up with Taguchi to take on Cozy Max and Hechicero. Fifth match of the night, Los Viejos del Espacio, Futuro, and Valiente Jr., along with Mascara Dorada, take on the Unbound Companies, Daiki Nagai, Shingo, and Titan. Sixth match of the night, Ultimo Guerrero and Templario in singles action. And then your main event, Mystico versus Soberano Jr. One interesting thing, I don't know if you saw this earlier today, Jeremy, in an untelevised tag team main event, Soberano Jr. pinned Mystico.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was I saw it on social media, and they showed him landing. I don't know what his finisher is, but he landed the reverse tombstone, like the kind that Owen Hart did to to Stone Cold. And yeah, he landed that on Mystico and laid him out. Looked like, I don't know if there was cheating involved, but it looked like what they showed looked like maybe it was clean. So they had him pick up a big pinfall victory in a tag match to obviously untelevised. But to set up this main event to kind of close out the tour. So,
yeah, the Corkin shows are always the highlight of the tour, and so it should be really fun. I think the use of Teton on this tour has been really weird.
I think the use of Tsuji is really weird.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be necessarily main eventing, but he should be teaming in the top spots with the top guys, and instead of just with his faction under, I don't know. But yeah, that's been some weird stuff. Plus, there's some really good matches. Hechicero versus Mascara Dorada. That's probably going to be the match of the tour, considering those two guys, and it's the main event. But everything, some of these other top matches should really deliver. So we got some good stuff coming up this week.
Yeah.
In the news, Tatsumi Fujinami will be part of New Japan Pro Wrestling's anniversary event next month. The 72-year-old Fujinami will team with his son Leona on the show. So, everyone really wants to see Leona, and really, 54th anniversary for New Japan is really great. Leona, I can't wait. And then we got a couple questions. We're going to get out of here.
Yeah, Def Triangle 720 says, with 2 open slots in the Best Super Junior, do you think we could see someone from CMLL like a Dorada take a spot?
In what? In New Japan Cup?
In Best Super Juniors.
Well, they usually do have at least like, not always, but they try to always have like one CMLL guy. But oftentimes it just turns out to be Teton nowadays. It'd be nice if they had one other guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see who they fill in for Hiromu and Bushi being gone. But yeah, I would love it if we did get somebody else besides just Teton.
Did he say Sobrano Jr.?
No, he was just saying that there's 2 slots that are being. He said Dorada. Could Mascara Dorada take up a spot?
Iffy. You know what I mean? Some of those guys are bigger than you think they are.
Yeah, I feel like with him, if he's in it, he's probably gonna have to be in the finals or win it.
Oh, I don't mean from a name standpoint. I'm talking physically. Some of them are like, yeah, they're thinner, but they're also really tall. And some of them are some of those guys are starting to fill out a little bit, and they're not the juniors that everybody, even though they work at the style, they're not the juniors people think they are, you know?
Yeah. But I think Dorada is still at the size where he could work it. But I think that he might, if he's going to be in it, he's going to probably have to get pushed pretty hard in the tournament.
You would think that, but it is CMLL, it is Mexico, and everybody seems to look down. That's the one thing is like they had this fantastic year. They did some of the greatest business that any company has ever done from a live ticket standpoint, ever in the history of the entire business, in its entire history, from recorded times. But when their guys go and fight abroad, they are always presented as lesser than, and it's sort of like it just is how it is. You know what I mean? Like the Mexican wrestling fans are very tuned into, you know, I'm not saying they watch it like voraciously, but they know about US and Japanese professional wrestling. They're familiar with the names. They've seen a lot of that stuff, but there doesn't seem to be the same crossover appeal, you know, from a wide standpoint. Like a lot of Western fans just don't watch Lucha Libre. They don't know these guys. That's why there was so much uproar about Mystico winning Wrestler of the Year at the Observer Awards.
Yeah.
And yeah, in Japan, Fantastica Mania Tour is successful, and they do attract a distinct crowd that is tuned into Mexican pro wrestling, but the wider audience as a whole, they're not, unless someone's like a superstar, they're not like, you know, super invested or believing in a lot of those guys as it stands either.
Yeah. Then 2 questions here from HP Brad Valoria. Thoughts on Ryan Garcia's performance this past weekend? Who do you see him facing next? Do you think Mayweather will be first fight out of retirement? Because I can see that being a big payday that Floyd desperately needs right now.
Well, we already kind of know that like Floyd is slotted to have a exhibition match with Mike Tyson, apparently. Who knows if that will actually take place, but that's laughable. And then they just announced basically today that his coming out of full retirement is going to be a match with Manny Pacquiao. And honestly, guys, if you, number one, you don't want to see Floyd is always going to be Floyd, but he's not Money Mayweather anymore. I mean, this guy's old. He's not going to be fighting any young guys of any sort whatsoever. Doesn't matter how big the money is, unless if he does fight like one of those young killers, like let's say they put him in there with like Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford comes out of his fake retirement to fight him, let's say, because the money is just too good, or he fights like a Canelo, right? That's going to tell you everything you need to know about this man's financial status, because he'll be literally like tarnishing his like entire like record and legacy for the payday that he has no money probably at that point. But more than likely he'll be fighting. He's not going to be fighting a Ryan Garcia who's going to kill him at this point in time in their careers. He's going to fight like old guys, you know, legacy, you know, safe little legacy fights. I don't even know if he actually even fights either of these two people. And if he does, I'm not convinced that either of these are like really dangerous outings, or, you know, they're business transactions.
Yeah.
As far as Ryan Garcia, I mean, he looked really good, but you know, and he dominated. He pitched a shutout, but I'm not convinced that he is going to be able to compete on the tip top level with the other, elites of the weight classes that he's in. And I will always believe that he, I'm not a Devin Haney fan, but I think he weight bullied and used, steroids to beat that man. And honestly, not trying to be a Ryan Garcia hater, but like, I kind of think he might have been on the fucking juice for this fight. Because if you look at his physique during weigh-ins for the last fight, after he was coming back from, from being out because he got suspended because of the steroid stuff, he looked puffy. This time he looked jacked to the gills, the same way he looked when he fought Devin Haney. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Are we sure this dude's not gonna fucking get popped? But Ryan Garcia has incredible speed and athleticism, but I don't think he's an incredible, fighter.
Gotcha. So his last question says, follow up on the Tadao Yasuda question from last week. Why do you think NJPW aren't recruiting sumo guys? I think we could use some bigger super heavyweights that are more agile than they look.
That's a great question. I mean, I'm not against it whatsoever. I'm not an expert on sumo wrestling. I have some base level. I've learned a little bit more about sumo in the last few years, just doing this show and kind of understanding the cultural relevance and significance of like sumo in Japan. But most of my understanding of sumo has gone back to like guys that were sumo wrestlers that broke into professional wrestling over the years. Like, like obviously Ricky Dozon and Tenryu and, oh man, who's that dude that got kicked out or knocked out? I fucking forgot his name just now, but oh man, that sucks. I want to remember his name because he debuted in the Tokyo Dome in 1990 for New Japan, and he was like supposed to be a really, 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 really big deal, and then ended up just, basically like exposing the business and being a shithead. I forget his name. Koji Katao. Oh my god, yeah, Koji Katao, and then Tadao Yasuda. So there've been some guys that have come from sumo to varying degrees of success. I do think that I could talk extensively about Tadao Yasuda and his run. I know, Jeremy, you mentioned last week that it wasn't necessarily your forte. It is terrible to see him have passed. I thought that the guys over at Voices of Wrestling last week, they did a pretty good, recap and obituary for like his career. And honestly, there's not much more I would personally say that they didn't already say, especially even just like kind of eulogizing like Inokiism and the context of all of that when it comes to Tadao Yasuda. But not, he's a footnote in wrestling. He's a guy that's emblematic of Inokiism and, got pushed for the wrong reasons. He wasn't a great fighter or a great wrestler, but I don't know. The Yuji Nagata matches are really good. That's probably something worth watching. But Yasuda is known as being one of the worst IWGP champions, one of them anyways. So yeah, it's an interesting kind of legacy. And then obviously, he fell in hard times and got into the gambling and all that. And, that was sort of what disgraced him, later on in life. But to answer your question, do I think New Japan should be looking outside of the box to see if there are opportunities to get guys from other martial arts backgrounds and fighting styles, especially if it's somebody with a name or some sort of crossover appeal? Yeah, I think that there's some positivity to that, but I don't know from a sumo sporting standpoint. I know for a fact that a lot of those guys that have left, they've been seen as disgraces for having made the jump to professional wrestling. Yeah. And I don't know if that stigma still exists for those guys. So who knows how that really plays out from a cultural standpoint and their pride and everything. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think, the recruiting, they should definitely, we've seen some wins of, also like amateur wrestling and Aaron Wolf coming from judo so far, and just his name value alone. It's like you mentioned, if a sumo guy, like if he had a big name and wants to come over, like we've kind of seen the benefit of being able to use a big, shoot sport name to boost attendance and popularity. So definitely, if you can get some high, big name athletes from other sports that want to transition, I think that's a good call.
The only one that's really been truly highly successful on a major level that ever made the jump that had any significance was Akabono, Akabono Toro. And, with him, that was his retirement plan. He was done as an active sumo wrestler, and he tried, MMA at the height of MMA, and he had huge fights because of the freak show aspect of it and his, the appeal of his name. Those fights with Hoist Gracie and Bob Sapp, they're some of the most watched sporting events ever in the entire history of the world, literally, believe it or not. But once he cashed out on those big money fights and he had nowhere else to go, that's when he jumped into professional wrestling and, had a varying degrees of marketability and success. But the reality is, with sumo, anybody other than Akabono that they've ever gotten were guys that were failed sumo wrestlers. Anybody with a name who is active and young and promising and doing well for the most part, they don't leave. You know what I mean? Like Koji Katao is probably the only one that ever did. And he was the bad boy of sumo, apparently. And he had issues with the culture and everything like that. I don't know the whole story, but it's not the thing with sumo that's different from, say, like judo and, amateur wrestling. Like to varying degrees, those things are big deal, especially judo's like the national sport, but they're basically amateur endeavors. But like sumo is like a professional year-round, like you give your life to it and you are making money doing it and you are committed to it. It's not something that you just leave. So I do think it's a very tough, difficult task for them to even try and convince somebody that is in sumo to leave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because anybody that's really, truly athletic and promising, they're probably going to keep pursuing that. And they're so entrenched into it. There's almost like a level of like mind control and like indoctrination that goes along with like some of those sumo stables. So yeah. I don't know that it's the easiest place to recruit from, but you don't want to leave any stone unturned, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's probably some people listening that know a lot more about sumo that could correct me. That this is just my base understanding of a lot of it.
All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for this week. So next week, Josh will be back with Chris Samsa to preview the New Japan Cup, and you could enter his pick'em contest over at sportprowrestling.com. Know there's a lot of entries so far, so get your brackets in there, and Chris will be on the show next week to preview New Japan Cup. So remember, if you want to watch our show live or listen without ads, you can sign up at patreon.com/KI Strongstyle. You can also make a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button on the Keeping Strong Style logo. Make sure to connect with us on social media on X and Blue Sky. Follow us at KI Strong Style, at Socialsuplex, at Jeremy Donovan, at YB_Josh and Liger. On Facebook, follow us at facebook.com/Socialsuplex and the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group. On Reddit, on the Pro Black Guy, just Keeping Strong Style. On YouTube, we're at Socialsuplex. Join our Socialsuplex Discord server to interact with us and other wrestling fans. You can email me, Jeremy at socialsuplex.com, and check out all the other shows that we have here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. One Nation Radio with Rich Latta and James Boyd, All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin, Imps AEW Adventure, Wrestling Art with Chris Sings, Tunnel Talk with Allie and Leah, the Trish and Sarah Wrestling Podcast, and Joshing Around with Tim and Eric. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review, and we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiban.
Thank you for listening to Keeping It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.
Hey, Sal.
Hank, what's going on? We haven't worked a case in years.
I just bought my car at Carvana, and it was so easy. Too easy.
Think something's up?
You tell me. They got thousands of options. Mm-hmm. Found a great car at a great price.
Uh-huh.
And it got delivered the next day.
It sounds like Carvana just makes it easy to buy your car, Hank.
Yeah, you're right. Case closed.
Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.